So I say most people believe there is something dramatically wrong in this country. They're not sure what it is.
Got your labor next your soul, interest slave in endless hole. It's so deep you'll never leave, a text on key with no reprieve. Interest banking, future sold, paper money, fuck the gold. Print more money, there's no end, new interest rates thanks to the Fed. Inflation's up, we can't afford to import, source an endless hoard. Funding all this endless war, these the whores I must ignore. Feeling good, yeah that's my price. The system lets me have my vice. Bread and circus feels nice, feeling bad, take this advice. Just take this pill, watch TV, smoke weed and chill. Football parties, man the grill. Watch some porn, drain your vril. Endless pleasure, wait until the lights go out, the lights are out. Holy fuck, the lights went out. The lights go out, the lights are out. Holy fuck, the lights went out. Never thought that this would happen. Should've prepped instead of fapping. Tires screeching, people scream. Living nightmare, not a dream. There goes all my dopamine, wiping off my jerk off cream. I'm flabby, weak and unprepared to own a gun, I'm really scared. Water filters, batteries, cans of food and MREs. I really should've bought that shit before the social fabric ripped. Atomize, I'm all alone, no internet, can't scroll my phone. The lights go out, the lights are out. The lights go out. Came on, I can't believe, breathe a sigh of great relief. Boy, I love modernity, endless goon sesh never leave. If you're sad, just take this pill. Watch TV, smoke weed and chill. Football parties, man the grill. Watch some porn, join your grill. Endless pleasure, wait until the lights go out, the lights are out. The lights go out. The lights go out. The lights go out. The lights go out. The lights are out. Holy fuck, the lights went out. The lights go out. The lights are out. Holy fuck, the lights went out. The lights go out.
And we are live once again from a stealth dirigible over the Sargasso Sea. Well, I am your host, Capitalisimo, and with me, as always, is Christopher Sandbatch. How are you doing today, sir?
Kind of just better. I've been sick. I've been sick for like a week. It's been like, I mean, whatever.
What's been wrong?
It's just a cold or something like that. Just like the ick. I've had the ick.
You've had the ick.
Yeah, I don't know what else to
you've
call
generated so much ick in the voids that you have yourself.
Yeah, I call it. I call it swamp fever. Is what I call it. I don't have any other word for it. Oh my god, my battery's low. I'm gonna have to get. Well, we can talk for a minute. But I was you say Sargasso Sea. I chose tonight for our location Rancho Cucamonga, which is a suburb of Los Angeles. That oddly enough, when I used to work in logistics, I had to run lots of shipments out of some fucking warehouse in Rancho Cucamonga. But it rolls off the tongue, and it's just a funny set of words to say. But
it is a very funny set of words.
But for West Coast listeners, I'll be out there in the flesh from Wednesday until Monday at least.
You'll be wearing flesh, and it could be yours.
Yeah, it could be yours. Halloween in Los Angeles. Woo.
That's right.
Possibly the only city with a creepier Halloween vibe than New Orleans.
What's so creepy about the Los Angelino Halloweeno?
It's just like it's a cursed place, It's a similarly cursed place.
But it's different. You have to worry about La Llorona illegally having crossed the border to eat you as you sleep.
That's true. Rather than Haitian demons that just spring out of the ground. Yeah.
Spring fully formed from the head of their father. Hey, Randall Shirker coming right out the gate hot with a $5 dono.
$5.
Reminder that Nixon did literally nothing wrong. This post has been fact checked by real Nixon insiders, trademark
insiders. I should do office hours at the Nixon Presidential Library.
I was accusing people of being the Council on Foreign Relations at a Halloween party on Saturday.
This is twice you've done this, isn't it? Hold on, I'll be right back. I gotta plug my computer in.
I was wearing a Comedia mask and loudly suggesting that everyone who was in a certain costume standard was clearly a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. It was great. It was fun. It was fun in context and just something for the fellas. I thought I was shouting you guys out in spirit, if not in fact. So yeah. Ryan Gosling and President Nixon needs me. All right, I'll do it. I'll go to bat for you, President Nixon.
Yeah.
President Nixon's top guy, Spiro Agnew, and he had to put him down like old Yeller.
Yeah.
So sad. Yeah. I wonder if the council. I wonder how the Council on Foreign Relations is right now. Do you feel like it's probably like the Freemasons and the Catholic Church, where it's just like some octogenarians and like
I'll tell you,
young guys who are kind of reactionary?
I'll tell you how they're doing. When I initially moved back to New Orleans from parts abroad, I had come here to work. It's like I was talking about the logistics job. I had actually come to work for a specialty lumber importer. Okay, was like a fifth generation New Orleanian. They've been running this. It
was human trafficking women who were 9s and above. That is to say, they were importing woods.
I think it was literally something like that. But anyway, he was a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, and he currently owns Faulkner House Books in New Orleans and lives above it. And that's how the Council on Foreign Relations is doing.
Wow. Okay. So they've entered their Kulak era. They're no longer controlling.
Oh no, it's like controlling the Latin American lumber trade and living in a $1 million penthouse apartment in the French Quarter is still pretty like.
Yeah, but $1 million in a relative hinterland of the power is not exactly controlling the entire.
Look,
cabinet.
I'm just saying, based on this book that we've been reading,
okay,
about the CIA operations based out
in Nolens. That's right. Ryan Gosling and Cap knows a thing or two about foreign relations.
Fern.
He types. Is that a burn? I think that was I'm laughing. I think that's laughing with me.
Fern relations.
Yeah. Fern relations. Mm-hmm. I like a little fur in my relations, if you know what I'm saying. I'm a real 1970s kind of man. All right. So we have fun here. We have fun here, folks, don't we? Yes, we do. We have a lot of fun, fellas. Are you doing anything for Halloween if you're going there for the holiday?
I'm going to Adam's reading.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Adam Luz Reinspecs, check him out if you haven't read Mixtape Hyperborea. I wouldn't be on the internet if it wasn't for that, actually.
Really?
I wouldn't have this pseudonym. Yeah, no, I created this pseudonym to talk about Mixtape Hyperborea with David and Gabe from Tookie's Mag.
Oh, wow.
And so the Sidebar Book Club was born, which spawned my low-key, almost homeless man on the street style of media career. But I definitely wouldn't be here if not. I adopted the pseudonym specifically to talk about that book.
Yeah, that's on the 30th. I don't know what I'm actually, because like I'm really not much of a Halloweener. Wiener.
Wiener.
You know, I may escape to Joshua Tree. I don't know. I'm not much about. I mean, Halloween has been going here for.
You should cut down a Joshua Tree and commit a crime of unimaginable brutality.
Dude, somebody did that a couple of years ago.
That's a crime of unimaginable brutality.
It is. Like I'm like, damn, that's dark.
I think you could literally kill a person, and I would. Depending on who it was, there's a strong chance I would find it less offensive than cutting down a Joshua tree.
It's pretty bad. Like
which makes my most Anglo quality.
Yeah, that's definitely you're definitely there with us. That's like you're that's like the next step above that is wearing shoes in the house. You know,
I do wear. I have house shoes. What is that?
No, I mean
I switch shoes when I come in.
Like that's Mr. Rogers' show. Well, you know,
he's pretty Anglo.
Yeah, it's true.
He's pretty Anglo. I'm just saying. I switch into a pair of Minnetonka moose moccasins that I've had for 15 years, and I never walk outside of the house in. So they're like
pristine still.
Yeah, they're in great shape, and they're like molded to my foot. They're so comfortable. Anyway, buy more expensive things and use them forever. So we missed last week because I had a massive ocular migraine and in fact was unable to read. So that was fun, and don't have that going on right now. So we're going to continue with the whole Bay of Pigs thing. Do you remember where we left off?
No idea. I've had a strange couple of weeks.
Yeah. So essentially, what had occurred is in Eric Wilson's ongoing mixing, his synthesis, you might even say, his synthesis of the Cowboy-Yankee War and Guy Debord's Society of the Spectacle. He is tracing the entire Cuba. Essentially, Watergate would not have happened without Cuba. So what he's going to go ahead and make that case. He's been dropping little breadcrumbs to keep us going.
Johnson 30-6 says the gays make Los Angeles Halloween awful. Listen, New Orleans is gayer than Los Angeles, and I live with it every day.
Per capita?
Yes. Yeah.
Did you know that blacks are the transist race?
That totally makes sense.
Isn't that wild? Yeah.
It totally makes sense. How much does the fact that Mr. Rogers was a Presbyterian count against his Anglo points? No, it doesn't count at all. In fact, it might be a +5.
Yeah, I mean, any kind of niche Protestant makes you more Anglo.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Anglican is the most Anglo you can be, but yeah. Randall Shirker says more like Cap was the victim of a directed energy weapon. Am I right? Yeah, I had Havana syndrome for the week. I had Havana syndrome, so my brain was getting microwaved. I've been rereading Vought's Practical Character Reader, which is a phrenology book from the beginning of the 20th century. And according to them, ocular migraines are a moral failing.
It's a genuinely wild thing to be reading.
Why?
That's just like didn't expect that.
Oh,
should have.
Actually, it is. So it's like 200 pages, but like 40% of it is illustrations, and they are some wild ass illustrations. I'm probably going to I'm going to make some good high quality scans. There are some vintage soy jacks in this book. It is, some of them are great. And we'll Yes Chad, obviously Yes Chad, but the Yes Chad, the phrenological pattern of Yes Chad's head perfectly mirrors the ideal honest masculine in this book. So that's kind of a weird coincidence.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. But yeah. We'll per Vulpes persona per caliper. That's right. All right. So that whole Bay of Pigs thing. Well, I've never understood myself what Cubans were doing there, H.R. Haldeman. Nixon and Helms have so much on each other, neither of them can breathe, Senator Howard Baker. Although written from the inside as one of the major participants of the events it purports to describe, Haldeman's memoirs of Nixon Watergate are nevertheless highly compelling, precisely because he so constantly highlights the parapolitical background of the Watergate scandal. Almost alone in the literature, Nixon's former chief of staff consistently stresses the importance of the deep politics of Nixon's administrative assault upon both the federal bureaucracy and the intelligence establishment. The Houston Plan, even though it failed, brought home to the intelligence agencies a new threat. They feared that White House interference could result in the disembowelment of their power. That's a strong phrasing. Thank you. Haldeman had a gift. Disembowelment of their power. I believe that from that point on, the CIA, for example, began monitoring the White House very, very closely through plants and perhaps other intelligence agencies too. Were there CIA plants in the White House? I leave the question to rest as part of a great mystery, the significance of which may one day overshadow even Watergate. The manipulation of this nation by members of an intelligence agency. Can we think of any examples of such a thing? There's a footnote that's definitely spilling onto the next page here. So we're going to read that. Haldeman, there has long been speculation as to the role of Alexander Haig, Kissinger's military liaison with the National Security Council in Watergate, and his possible connections with either CIA or the Defense Intelligence Agency. Also highly suspect is Air Force Colonel Alexander Butterfield, who oversaw the installation and maintenance of the secret taping system of the Nixon White House. Yes, who could have possibly thought that someone installing a secret taping system might want to make some copies for himself, just for home, just for fun. On July 15th, 1973, Butterfield voluntarily informed the Senate Watergate Committee as to the existence of the Nixon tapes. His exact words to the investigators were, "This is all something I know the president did not want revealed, but you asked me, and I feel it is something you ought to know about in your investigations. I was told no one was to know about the information I have told you." Okay, very loyal. Previously, Butterfield had served for several years as the Defense Department's liaison with the CIA in Australia. Butterfield seems to have been especially close to Haig. During the Johnson administration, after several months of working together, Butterfield took over two tasks from Haig, overseeing the resettlement of captured Bay of Pigs veterans that had been ransomed from Cuba, and serving as Robert McNamara's liaison with the White House. Butterfield had what he described as a strange role that involved a lot of undercover stuff. Ransoming back Cuban dissidents that you abandoned on the beach in the Bay of Pigs after, inciting them to stage an invasion seems like a really bad way to, keep deniability, doesn't it? Doesn't that seem fucking retarded? Like, when you just leave them and say, I don't know those guys. It's like, fucking cares, right?
Dude, not everything. It's just one of those things. I haven't, come to peace with the terms that none of this shit these people do makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of just a lot of CYA and trying to see what works. Like, the thing about conspiracies is that, much of conspiracies are just sort of are informal, which is, kind of my thesis is that a lot of them are these networks that are primarily social, and they're just like people who get their hands who get their hands on the levers and then they get to do what they want. And they're in a little society, right? That is separate from the rest of us, but
we live in a society.
We live in a society.
So we could also call this the dual state.
The deep state?
The dual state. No, that was like, this is not Gary Allen.
Yeah, deep state. The dual state. Yeah, I mean, you could call it the dual state. You could, except, of course, except I'm sort of positing a general society and then some sort of not secret but occluded society that consists of random staffers who've known each other for 20 fucking years, solving problems with informal power, right? And there's nothing the right hates more than informal power. So anyway, the utterly tangled nature of Nixon's relationship with the secret services reached its apogee in Nixon's brazen attempt to politically blackmail CIA Director Helms into assisting the White House's Watergate cover-up operations by threatening to counter-leak damaging material concerning the agency's actions against Cuba. In some extraordinarily opaque matter, the Bay of Pigs was to serve as Nixon's hook, which, when placed in historical context, provided the perfect nexus point between the false flag theaters of Dealey Plaza and the Watergate Hotel. In order to convey the full clandestine significance of this complicated sequence of events, I need to reproduce the history of the covertly taped White House conversations in some detail. Are we getting hard R's?
Is we be getting hard R, master?
Is we getting? Yeah. June 23rd, 1972, 10 a.m., meeting in the Oval Office between Nixon and Haldeman to discuss the Watergate burglary. This meeting constitutes the smoking gun of Nixon Watergate, where Nixon conspires to obstruct justice by attempting to compel the CIA to shut down the FBI investigation of the break-in. During this session, Nixon makes two highly elliptical comments linking Hunt to anti-Castro CIA activities. All right. Of course, this Hunt will uncover a lot of things. If you open that scab, there's a hell of a lot of things. We just feel it would be very detrimental to have this thing go any further. This involves these Cubans, Hunt, a lot of hanky-panky. We have nothing to do with ourselves. When you get in, people say, look, problem is that this will open the whole Bay of Pigs thing. And the president just feels that fuck, this is Haldeman? Fuck. All right, yeah. I'm going to finish it as Nixon.
You can't do Haldeman,
I'm going to finish it as Nixon. Yeah, I don't know what Haldeman's voice sounds like. Without going into details, don't lie to them, the CIA, to the extent there's no involvement by the White House in the burglary. Just say it's a comedy of errors without getting into it. The president believes it's going to open the whole Bay of Pigs thing up again. And again, because these people are plugging for, they should call the FBI in and don't go any further into this case, period. It should be obvious by now that when Nixon cryptically references the whole Bay of Pigs, wait, what? Oh, he's referring to himself as the president. Oh, he's saying, all right, you need to say this. All right, I got it. It was Nixon. There we go. That when Nixon cryptically references the whole Bay of Pigs, he is not merely uttering a crude, albeit disguised threat against Helms. He is unconsciously providing a gloss upon the defining parapolitical dynamic of the Kennedy administration. 11:40 a.m., Haldeman makes arrangement for a meeting between himself and both the director, Richard Helms, and Deputy Director, General Vernon Walters of the CIA, in the offices of the presidential advisor, Ehrlichman. 1 p.m., second meeting between Nixon and Haldeman. Nixon once again revisits the Bay of Pigs. All right, this is definitely Nixon now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just postpone the, just say, very bad to have this fellow Hunt. You know, it's too damn much. If he was involved, you happen to know what. If he gets out, this is all involved. The Cuba thing would be a fiasco. We have to make the CIA look bad. It's going to make Hunt look bad. It's likely to blow up the whole Bay of Pigs thing, which we think would be very unfortunate, both for the CIA and for the country at this time. And for America foreign policy, just tell him that Patrick Gray, director of the FBI, to lay off. 1:30, meeting of Haldeman, Ehrlichman, Helms, and Walters. Haldeman then said, it was the president's wish that Walters call on acting FBI Director Patrick Gray and suggest to him that since the 5 suspects, McCord, Martinez, Baker, Frank Sturgis, and Virgilio Gonzalez, had been arrested, that this should be sufficient and that it was not advantageous to have the inquiry pushed. Helms said he had already discussed the investigation with Gray the day before and had assured him the CIA was not involved and that none of the suspects were working for the agency. At this point, Haldeman ventured the gambit of Nixon. The president asked me to tell you this entire affair may be connected to the Bay of Pigs. If it opens up, the Bay of Pigs may be blown. Helms' reaction was immediate. He gripped the arms of his chair, leaning forward, and shouted, "The Bay of Pigs had nothing to do with this! I have no concern about the Bay of Pigs!" So what an odd thing to say. What an odd reaction. There's a footnote here that we'll skip to. Presumably, this is Helms's coded reference to the CIA's suspension of its own investigation of Dealey Plaza following the release of the FBI report on December 9th, 1973. Also of possible significance was that very soon after assuming the presidency in 1969, Nixon demanded all the facts and documents the CIA had on the Bay of Pigs, a complete report on the whole project. After being repeatedly stonewalled by the CIA, Nixon held a long secret conversation with Helms in the Oval Office, after which he ordered his aides Ehrlichman and Haldeman to cease and desist from trying to obtain the CIA files. Haldeman was taken aback by the what?
It's impossible. First of all, I've just been letting you read. I've been responding. Oh my God.
Really?
Anyway, yeah, yes, yeah. But I just realized my microphone had been muted for maybe 10 minutes. Damn.
Sorry,
but
bud.
like it is like difficult to imagine a more exciting White House than Nixon's. Like, you know,
there's all this cloak and dagger bullshit.
It's like all cloak and dagger. There's several layers occurring at any given moment. It's like, I mean, there's been dumber presidencies, but it's difficult to imagine a more exciting one. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, when the head of the CIA is just flipping out when you mention an event that, I mean, took place more than a decade prior.
More than a decade ago, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, let's see. Haldeman was taken aback by the vehemence of Helms's reaction. "I'm just following my instructions, Dick," he said. "This is what the president told me to relay to you." 2:20 p.m., third meeting between Haldeman and Nixon. Haldeman: "Gray called Helms and said, I think we've run right into the middle of a covert CIA operation." Nixon: "Gray said that." Haldeman: "Yeah, and said nothing we've done at this point is, and says, well, sure looks to me like it's, what was the end of that conversation? The problem is it tracks back to the Bay of Pigs, and it tracks back to the leads run out to people who had no involvement in this, except by contracts and connection, but it gets into areas that are liable to be realized."
Yeah, what a line. It gets into areas that are liable to be realized.
Yes.
It's a certifiable, depends on what your definition of is.
Yeah. Haldeman makes clear in his memoirs that by the end of the Watergate scandal, he had come to believe that the Bay of Pigs was Nixon-esque code for JFK Dallas. It seems that in all those Nixon references to the Bay of Pigs, he was actually referring to the Kennedy assassination. Oh, that does make more sense. Actually. The footnote for Haldeman. Of course, a somewhat more pedestrian explanation could be that Nixon was referencing the Cuba project more generally and the multifarious CIA and mafia linkages and assassination plots in particular. Yeah, but it's not a scandal that the CIA would try to kill Castro, right? It's not a scandal.
It kind of is.
Is it? Is it though?
I think because the best outcome for the CIA is that Castro dies without any knowledge of their involvement.
I mean,
remember,
obviously,
the Russians do exist.
I mean, of course, yeah. Remember, the Russians do exist. I know. I'm just, I'm just saying that, like, that is the idea that they wouldn't want to kill Castro, right? A failed attempt on Khrushchev would be a massive scandal and a huge problem. But the CIA kind of low-key trying to fuck with Castro is not nearly as big of a deal.
This is probably
because also by this point, Castro and the Russians were kind of on the rocks anyway. So it wasn't like he was their little buddy, right? They weren't stationing nukes there anymore. They weren't helping him. So, So let's see here. Offering an opinion shared by many assassination investigators, like Lane and Russo, Haldeman speculates that Oswald was actually a Cuban agent who killed JFK under orders from Castro as retaliation for the assassination component of Operation Mongoose. So the idea is that the Cuban assassins were better than the American assassins, which seems
that's they do have the Sicario. They got the Sicario thing going.
Okay, but then the US really would have invaded Cuba, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Then the US would have been like, "Oh, Cuba did this." The only explanation for the US not doing it is like, we can't let people know that Cuba assassinated the president because it would cause us to lose face or something. But that's a retarded reason, right?
Yeah.
If you had people in the government who wanted to invade Cuba, and then Cuba actually assassinates the president, then you invade Cuba, right? That's what I would think. When Nixon said it's likely to blow the whole Bay of Pigs, he might have been reminding Helms, not so gently, of the cover-up of the CIA assassination attempts on the hero of the Bay of Pigs, Fidel Castro, a CIA operation that may have triggered the Kennedy tragedy and which Helms desperately wanted to hide. In Haldeman's view, Phase 2 of JFK Dallas was really an effort by the CIA to disguise both Oswald's own clandestine affiliations with Central Intelligence as well as the agency's wider involvement in regional assassination conspiracies. After Kennedy was killed, the CIA launched a fantastic cover-up. Many of the facts about Oswald unavoidably pointed to a Cuban connection. In a chilling parallel to their cover-up at Watergate, the CIA literally erased any connection between Kennedy's assassination and the CIA. No mention of the Castro assassination attempt was made to the Warren Commission by CIA representatives. In fact, counterintelligence chief James Jesus Angleton of the CIA called Deputy Director Bill Sullivan of the FBI and rehearsed the questions they would give to the Warren Commission investigators, such as these samples. Was Oswald an agent of the CIA? No.
Answer, no.
Does the CIA have any evidence showing that a conspiracy existed to assassinate Kennedy? No. They really had to make sure that they rehearsed the answer to the single word answers to those questions. Yeah.
I thought these people were all on speed. That's just really.
They were not. This was not the 80s.
No, that's true.
These were not high-flying Reaganauts.
Yeah, they're all Quaaludes. I mean, Nixon himself famously was. I mean, he's just all. Well, no, they did it. They were on Dexedrine, is what they used to call it. Dexedrine and Quaaludes, and then they were drunk all the time.
Oh God, good old-fashioned drunk presidents. Can you imagine how much more effective Trump would be if he drank?
Yeah, I've thought about that sometimes.
Just gets a real angry drunk on. It'd be amazing. God.
Like Nixon used to do that, and he'd just like wander down to the Jefferson Memorial and argue with grad students at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
What a fucking hero.
There's like so many crazy stories about like Nixon just wandering DC alone in a haze of Quaaludes and stuff.
What the fuck are you doing, your goddamn pig?
Yeah.
That was Hunter Thompson. That was not.
They're remarkably close to each other.
They're remarkably similar. Yeah, they are. When Nixon's not the yell, only the yell is different, right? The normal speaking register is very similar. The sort of jowly mumble. Yeah, let's see. Randall Shirker says, never going to grasp why people never connect the dots on CIA's relationship with JFK. It was probably trying to figure out if they could get rid of Castro without the need for direct U.S. involvement. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's that the thesis of this book is that JFK got assassinated so that there would be direct U.S. involvement. But I mean, who knows? Let's see. After Kennedy was killed, the CIA launched a fantastic cover-up. Many of the facts about Oswald unavoidably... I already read this. The evidence presented by Haldeman is perfectly consistent with that false flag. Proof of the collusion between the CIA and FBI highlights the underlying parapolitical continuity of both JFK Dallas and Nixon Watergate. Two singular deep events embedded within the far greater parapolitical landscape of clandestine governance. New section. It's the media. It's the media. What are we going to do with the media?
We must be almost done.
There's a fair amount of book left. Yeah.
The late great Robert Redford, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Great. Let's see. Movie poster: Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman star as Watergate scandal journalist Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein in Alan J. Pakula's 1976 film All the President's Men. It's a really good movie. It's completely fake. Completely
I've never
fake.
Seen it.
Oh, it's great. It's fantastic. Yeah. Definitely an all-timer, but completely, it's one of those tell a fake story that's historical fiction and people act like it's a fucking documentary.
Yeah, of course.
So it's just like, get into Bob Woodward, but never mention that Bob Woodward is an intelligence asset.
Right.
Like, there you go. Everything that boomers know about Nixon Watergate, it comes from All the President's Men.
That makes sense.
Literally everything. And they fucking lived through it. They were old enough to have paid attention, but everything they know is from All the President's Men. So, yes, Randall Shirker, the media is always the enemy. Richard Milhouse Nixon. He was sign tapping before there were computer images.
Before there was even signs.
Before there were signs, he was tapping them. The tapping of the sign was invented before the sign. The Spectacle of Conspiracy, Chapter 5. Everything is supposed to be something, but it never is. That's the nature of existence. Don DeLillo from Libra.
Here we go.
Ba, 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 ba. I don't have a soundboard. Just pretend that there's an air horn here for Don DeLillo. This whole show, if someone references Don DeLillo, I will read your book. That's how it goes. Modernity can perhaps be usefully understood as the perfect conversion of the Roman Empire. In the place of the spectacle, what?
Sketchy. Bold claim. Sketch. And sketch.
Yeah. Okay. And sketchy.
Yeah.
The inversion of the Roman Empire. Instead of gay orgies in the capital, we have gay orgies in the capital. In the place of the spectacle of brutality, we collectively witness and endure the brutality of the spectacle.
All right, that's it.
Oh, so he's just talking about are you just talking about the Colosseum?
That's it. That's it, Eric. You're on my shit list now.
You're on.
That's it.
Oh my God. We're going to take a little break after that anthracite coal of a sentence. Randall Shirker, how bad is the Cap psyop if I am going to be reading Libra when I'm actually reading Nutcranker? I would fucking say, wait, you should read both of those books. Nutcranker is very good. You should not read Nutcranker. You should actually read Nutcranker before you read Confederacy of Dunces, because it's an extremely similar book, and I don't know. I could not get past the comparison, and so if you haven't read Confederacy of Dunces or Nutcranker, I strongly recommend you read Nutcranker first, and then tell me what you think.
Read Confederacy of Dunces.
Lots of people haven't read things.
Yeah,
I've never read War and Peace.
Not many. That's an order of magnitude difference. I think.
Well, it's a lot more notable than Confederacy of Dunces. But you're also a New Orleans person, so like, of course you're going to read. Yeah. Of course you're going to read the novel.
I mean, it was like assigned in like 7th grade,
Right. Spencer Grunhauer is literally a dude I've met and been friends with. Yeah, Ignatius J. Riley is literally a guy that I have met and
done a podcast with.
Done a podcast with Abe Sinclair. It's actually Ignatius is like the Ignatius is the less lovable version of Geo. It's true.
Less lovable? I don't know. They're about on par.
No way. Ignatius is not lovable. He's a bastard. He's too much of a bastard.
It's kind of true.
Yeah. He's a fucking commie.
I don't like the book Confederacy of Dunces.
You don't?
No, I don't like it. Yeah.
Oh my god. How can I? It's so good. How can you? Are you going to say it insists upon itself? Please say it insists upon itself.
It does insist upon itself. But
oh no!
There are just too many parallels with my life, and I'm like, and I don't like Ignatius Riley.
Of course you don't.
Yeah, I don't.
Why would you like him?
I don't like him, and he reminds me of me, and like I'm like trapped in New Orleans, and like it's like, I don't know. There's all kinds of shit I don't like about it.
We got a super from Johnny Walt, $10. Don't spend it all in one place, boys. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you for the $10 donuts.
That's a whole box of whippets right there.
That's a whole box of Galaxy gas. Patrick Casey, new co-host of Library of Mass Destruction. We got to keep him in gas. All right, we'll go back with this goddamn. All right, I'm gonna just reread it so that you can be fresh in your rage. Modernity can perhaps be usefully understood as the perfect conversion of the Roman Empire. In the place of the spectacle of brutality, we collectively witness and endure the brutality of the spectacle. You've been laying it on a little thick, haven't you, Niles? That's like... For parapolitical scholars such as Scott, the traumatizing infliction of the cognitive dissonance that is the grotesque body of the deep event becomes virtually identical with the social consciousness of the society of the spectacle. The spectacle's domination has succeeded in raising a whole generation molded to its laws. You gonna translate that?
I don't even really know what that means. The spectacle's domination has succeeded in raising...
So the traumatizing infliction of cognitive dissonance that is the grotesque body of the deep event. All right.
I mean, I feel like this is one of these things where he's calling boomers the most MK-altered generation in history, which is true. And I say that all the time, but then you think, what comes after them? Like, we're like laughing at these fucking dundering boomers, but we're just inside of let Rick and Morty
we're style. In a bigger Skinner box looking at your smaller Skinner box. You fools, you idiots. All right, so it essentially the traumatizing infliction of the cognitive dissonance that is the grotesque body of the deep event becomes virtually identical with the social consciousness of the society of the spectacle. So what he's saying is that all of these ops are the one total dominating element of the view, right? So the spectacle's domination has succeeded in raising a whole generation molded to its laws, right? So everyone is operating under these essentially fake events, these fake understandings of real events. Is the total perspective. Yeah. So I'm gonna say yes. Eric Wilson is very right. He said it in kind of a pain in the ass way, but he's right.
That's the moral of the story. Like, my take on Eric Wilson is that you're not wrong, Walter. You're just an asshole. You know.
That's it. Honestly, that's probably the kind of thing he would want to hear from us.
Yeah,
right?
True.
That's right.
So true.
He'll never. This is, I said Wendy Painting would never listen to this show, but Eric Wilson truly will never listen to this show.
So true.
He would bounce off. He would bounce off probably. Let's see here.
One of the things you have to remember about him too is that he's Australian.
Oh yeah, so we're just on at a different time.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
This inconvenient truth of postmodern history, capital H history, accounts for not only the scarring traces of the lurking presence of the clandestine, but also the emergence of the discourse of conspiracy theory as the dominant epistemo-political apparatus of the era of spectacular power. Semicolon. For Debord, the psychic result of the integrated spectacle is that we live and die at the confluence of innumerable mysteries. That's true, right? So you can say that's true. If your entire,
it's one of those things, it's true, but like I'm like
true, but also like kind of not that insightful.
Yeah,
like you need to wake up, sheeple. Everything around you is fake and gay, and you're gonna live it. You're gonna live and die in a simulation. It seems other people have said similar things, right?
Literally that, yeah.
Any radical criminology. Oh yeah, because again, this is a criminological book. Theoretically, any radical criminology that takes seriously the notion of criminal sovereignty must therefore also need to come to terms with what I might call the political economy of cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance may be defined as a psychological phenomenon occurring when a new idea or information is in conflict with previously formed ideologies, accepted beliefs, and corresponding behaviors. Cognitive dissonance is, it's like, this thing disproves my worldview. Most people don't experience cognitive dissonance because they don't have a worldview. They don't actually have like a consistent, one counter to the analysis that people are like living according to, this sort of thing is that I don't actually think people have super consistent perspectives.
Yeah.
Like there are some people who will just,
no, I don't.
Who will just update like every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Okay. You mean like that? I was going to say, I certainly don't, but I have like principled contradictions. You just mean motherfuckers that they just be waking up and downloading a new personality every day.
It's sort of like like Joe Rogan interviewing Konstantin Kisin and then interviewing Daryl Cooper and being like, yes, that's absolutely right. Your perspective on Israel, that's just like that is what I'm talking about.
Just dude weeding all the time.
Dude weeding. Randall Shirker with a $5 super dono. I will note that the boomers were easy to psyop compared to other generations. Plus, they had way more competent people at Glowy Incorporated compared to today. But also there were just like fewer. There were fewer types of media. Now, really, just the fact that you are not dependent on very expensive, centralized means of production, right, to get media out has been absolutely devastating to the Glowies. So it just it's easier to see through things because you're getting more noise over their signal and in fact some other signals, right, that are not merely noise. So therefore, also need to come to terms with what I might call the political economy of cognitive dissonance, which rests upon two central modes of spectacular production. The first is the conceit of the illusion of transparency, the seemingly unlimited free flow of apparently uncensored information, currently the main trading commodity of the consumerist media industry service provider, is itself the camouflage of the networks of parapolitical governance. Yeah, so the idea that there's a lot of free information that is coming through and that it is trustworthy information that has not been skewed or presented in a way to benefit any particular party, right? That is necessary for parapolitical governance, of course, right? Which is why when you have someone saying fake news, that everyone freaks out because you're like, you're really throwing a wrench into the gears. Here in the importance of the clandestine, of the virtually unlimited corporate penetration of all domains, of the garbage dump of social media simply cannot be overstated. The second is the exceptionally risk-averse nature of contemporary forms of governance, both the public and private, that Debord notes as the fragile perfection of the society of the spectacle. So, the importance for the clandestine of the virtually unlimited corporate penetration of all domains of the garbage dump of social media can't be overstated. So he would be stating manipulation of algorithms in a way that also wasn't possible previously because there weren't algorithms. So, yeah, but I don't know. I feel like despite the algos, there are, this has caused a significant amount of disruption of central control. I mean, am I wrong here? Sandbatch, your mic is muted.
No, it's not.
Oh, you're just being quiet.
I told you. Yeah, I'm kind of sick. Like, it's still kind of sick.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to be brave.
Trying to be brave browser. Download Brave. Not sponsored. Yeah, in any case, I think we're all on the same page here. Clandestine for the virtually unlimited corporate penetration of all domains. The second is the exceptionally risk-averse nature of the contemporary forms of governance, both public and private, that Debord notes as the fragile perfection of the society of the spectacle. Once it attains the stage of the integrated spectacle, self-proclaimed democratic society seems to be generally accepted as the realization of a fragile perfection, so that it must no longer be exposed to attacks, being fragile, and indeed is no longer open to attack, being perfect, as no other society before it. It is a fragile society because it has great difficulty managing its dangerous technological expansion. But it is a perfect society for governing. Wherever the spectacle has its dominion, the only organized forces are those which want the spectacle. Thus, no one can be the enemy of what exists, nor transgress the omerta, which applies to everything. Debord comments on Society of the Spectacle, which was published in 1972, I believe. Pretty good, taking down Fukuyama 2 decades ahead of time. Just really
Fukuyama's kind of a meme. I don't know.
Yeah,
never read Fukuyama.
You never read Fukuyama?
No.
Actually, never
read Huntington either.
In the end of history, I've not read Huntington. In the end of history, he actually has a more nuanced take than the Redditification of him has given him.
The take
but
is nuanced.
but he became his own parody later on. If you read him on Twitter, he is actually a parody of himself.
He's actually the guy people think he is, and he wasn't originally.
Yes,
the geopolitical version of becoming a lol cow.
Exactly, that's correct. He became the God.
He's the Chris Christ. He's the Chris Chan of geopolitics.
That's right. I mean, he's a. If you're a lol cow, you might as well be pure Kobe, pure Kobe beef lol cow. Get you some Japanese lol cows. They're a higher quality. Anyway, a conspiracy of a silence of a very unique kind, one which is served not by the censorship but by an unregulated free market ? Proliferation of speech that renders critical theory impotent, not because it is in hiding, but because it is hidden by the ponderous state management of diversity of thought. How do you feel about the Overton window as a concept?
Don't like it either.
Well, what about the Overton window upsets you? How do you think that it yeah, go ahead.
Well, okay, so the Overton window sort of naturally leads to this concept like a horseshoe theory, but then like horseshoe theory, in fact, sort of abrogates the idea of an Overton window. So like, again, what is the actual concept of the Overton window? It actually really doesn't say as much as you think it does, but it like posits a zone. It posits a space or like a discursive zone in which you can remain and be like remain a member of civil society.
Right.
But almost everyone has
all the words you can say without scaring the hose.
Yeah, almost everyone. If you can scare the hose with inside this Overton, would trust me. As somebody who's who's way outside,
he's a professional hose scarer.
And somebody who's way outside any conceivable concept of the Overton window. I mean, I do scare a lot of hose, but there's a lot I don't scare. You know, and so like it's one of these concepts. The more you poke at it, it all falls apart. You know, and I don't like it. And it also threatens to become an idealism. And by an idealism, I mean like a thing that people like a non-existent like thing that people just hyperstition into reality.
Oh, like this is so you're moving the Overton window, bro.
Yeah. Okay. You're not.
No.
It might seem like you were because the Overton window concept, like the Overton window is a concept that is only ever referenced by the idea of people pushing or extending it, and like by the very act of extending it, you sort of abrogate it. Yeah.
Oh, so like, was it really there?
Was it really there?
Now I'm talking about it. I'm not. Literally. I haven't lit a flame. I am talking. Yeah, that's a good point. A conspiracy of silence of a very unique kind, one of which is served not by the censorship, but by an unregulated free market proliferation of speech that renders critical theory impotent, not because it is in hiding, but because it is hidden by the ponderous stage management of diversionary thought.
No, we got to do the Overton window thing again. Okay, the Overton window is it's an MK Ultra population design mechanism. I don't actually know
the origins of the concept of the Overton window, but I would probably,
like it's like this idea is it's basically the idea that if we put this fucking concept here, people will run with it and make it real and thus contain themselves within it.
People will try to contain themselves within some sort of
If you build it, they will come.
The integrated spectacle is the ideal medium for a strikingly Debordian notion of disinformation, which is tantamount to ordinary speech acts within the spectacular domain. See? Disinformation now spreads in a world where there is no room for verification. In reality, Debord's disinformation is no different from gossip, a free dissemination of unverified informal knowledge. Okay, that is pretty based. Yeah. In a cultural studies work infused with quasi-Debordian insights, knowledge goes pop from conspiracy theory to gossip.
Claire Burchell. Yeah.
Claire Burchell outlines the historical coupling of gossip as semi-legitimate social praxis within the saturation of popular consciousness with mass media, digital or otherwise.
Oh my God.
And there was there's a footnote here that does not extend. All right. A difficult to define discipline, which he was referencing cultural studies. A difficult to define discipline, but one which might usefully be thought of as the university-based vanguard of the totalizing commodification of popular culture. Situationism ossified as academic discourse. Ooh, kind of a...
Ooh, ossified.
Ossified. He doesn't like things turning into bones, My wife just brought a gyro into me, but I can't eat a gyro and read, so this thing will have to congeal. All right. For rather than gossip interrupting the knowledge economy. All right. So you want to comment on the on disinformation as gossip, like, because it does seem like what is an eyewitness account, right?
Gossip.
An eyewitness account other than gossip, right?
Yeah, once you internalize the gospel of Joylon West, then that's all it becomes. Yeah, I mean, because we see over and over again, like eyewitness accounts just aren't any better than, and like the experts. How often have the experts turned out to be not the experts at all?
Oh, to have no expertise.
Yeah,
and
so everything gets like converges back on yapping, like way quicker than most people are willing to admit. And it's like, what is disinformation? Yapping. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, typically whenever you hear media reports about misinformation and disinformation, what they're saying is stop talking. Let us talk. Only we get to talk. We're the ones who are the talkers. All of you people who are talking to each other, you need to stop and only listen.
But that's just yapping too. It's just like the yapping of the spectacle, which is the forthcoming title of my next book, by the way. The yapping of the spectacle.
Oh, you've abandoned what was it? The womb chthonic?
Yeah. No. Oh no, I gotta finish that one too. I'm at 3 now.
You're at three active books?
3 done. They're all poetry though. So I gotta stop and like write something that people will read. But keep going.
All right. So hold on. All right. For rather than gossip interrupting the knowledge economy and the economy's associated neoliberal open market and erosion of the value of knowledge beyond a notion of utility, gossip could also be thought of to facilitate and to be facilitated by the rise of information networks and the knowledge economy. We seem more and more comfortable with the idea that knowledge cannot be traced back to an ultimate source, as is often the case with gossip. We seem more and more willing to allow information to accrue simply through circulation. If we read or hear something enough in enough context, it will assume the status of knowledge in spite of an absence of authority or method of verification. A great deal of knowledge today seems to have taken on something of the status of gossip. It is neither true nor false, knowledge or non-knowledge, but somewhere in between. Big footnote. For cyber technology and the high-speed circulation of false derivatives commodities as the cause of the GFC.
He sounds so much like me right now. It's pissing me off.
See, criminogenic cyber capitalism.
Damn.
Compare Burchell with its fucking bitchin' title, right?
Like you'll write a 3-page footnote, but you won't just say go read Nick Land.
Go read my book, Wilson. Yeah. He's referencing himself. Criminogenic cyber capitalism is Wilson. Compare Burchell with Jody Dean on digital information, a world where more information is available, and hence a world where we face daily the fact that our truths, diagnoses, and understandings are incomplete. Click on one more link. Check out one more newscast. Get just one more expert opinion. We should expect large-scale feelings of anxiety, suspicion, and conspiracy theorizing. Not true among the best posters, right? Not true among the great posters. I'm not one, but sometimes you can just say things. Don't seek knowledge at all. Just add noise. Add noise. Let's see. At issue here, of course, is not the nature of the true, but the social value of truth. Knowledge as commodity equals self-validation. I feel like really incorporating that last sentence, that last statement. It's not the nature of the true, but the social value of true. Knowledge as a commodity equals self-validation.
Yeah.
There are some people who would be one-shotted by that phrase.
I think a lot of people, but I'm also not totally certain it's true.
You don't think that the
older I get, the more
people don't actually care about truth?
Yeah, I think they do.
You think people really do care about truth?
Yeah.
Do you think that people confuse actual truth with social proof?
I think only under only under terror state circumstances, my genuine belief. So like, I think like if the scale is not being thumbed aggressively, they actually do a pretty good job. For example, they tend to vote right most of the time. Like, whenever you find like, though, like I think the whole construction around Trump. I mean, Trump's been elected twice. I think, and both times he was this. 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
3 out of 3 is better.
That's true.
Yeah. So, okay. So, I mean, so what's your point there? I guess
I think people discern truth and value it pretty well, regardless of social constructions.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So people have some sort of affinity for actual truth.
Yeah.
I mean, fair enough. Fair enough. That's a very hopeful ontology, I think.
I know people call me a cynic all the time. I'm not.
It is obvious that what is commonly known as conspiracy theory is, in many critical respects, both structurally and functionally identical with gossip. The exteriority that guarantees the boundaries of legitimate or orthodox forms of political reason and speech. Oh, so the frame of the Overton window is conspiracy theory, is what he's saying. The category of conspiracy theory policies polices the borders of legitimate versus risible statements and intellectually competent actors versus paranoiacs. So conspiracy theory is something that is at least somewhat plausible and isn't just schizobabble, right?
Yeah.
Like Obama put a I don't know what is silly for him to do? Obama stole my phone so that I'd have to get an Obama phone and he'd be able to listen to my calls, right? It didn't happen, right? So
they could already listen to your calls, bro. But I do remember that being a thing people would talk about, though.
What? Like the government stole my phone?
Well, no, that like the Obama phones were like a conspiracy so they could listen to us. And here we are.
Why would imagine the poor FBI agent who has to listen to a bunch of EBT Americans talking about whatever the fuck, like just staying on video chat for 8 hours at a time.
Yes.
Imagine the guy who had to listen to that. The poor bastard. We'll update the circles of hell in Dante's Inferno, and that'll be one of them. Within both of the classic and negative works on the discourse of conspiracy, that of Karl Popper, who is burning in that circle of hell, by the way. Yeah. The purpose of conspiracy theory, footnote, the purpose of conspiracy theory is exactly the opposite of the true aim of the social sciences. It comes from abandoning God and then asking, who is in his place? His place is then filled by various powerful men and groups, sinister pressure groups who are to be blamed for having planned the Great Depression and all the evils from which we suffer. For an effective rebuttal of Popper's summary dismissal, see Pigden generally. Interesting. I haven't read that, but I do love reading anything that counter signals Karl Popper. And Richard Hofstadter, who has many more interesting things to say. Actually, I like Richard Hofstadter. Do you like Richard Hofstadter?
I do like Richard Hofstadter.
Yeah. He's not one of ours, but he's
yeah.
Let's see. And footnote for Hofstadter: although American life has rarely been touched by the most acute varieties of class conflict, it has served again and again as an arena for uncommonly angry minds. I call it the paranoid style simply because no other word adequately evokes the qualities of heated exaggeration, suspiciousness, and conspiratorial fantasy that I have in mind.
Yeah.
Yep, conspiratorial style of politics. Amyl nitrate mentioned. It's like, you got to keep your heart going, guys. Conspiracy theory is deployed as a form of alterity that ensures the validity of the accepted thing through the perpetual verification of differences with the refused thing. Yeah, that can definitely fall apart on you. Footnote on that. See also, let's see, the rhetorical development of the term conspiracy theorist as a category of deviant personhood. Much discourse about conspiracy has become almost inseparable from Hofstadter's creation of the paranoid mind. His conspiracy theorist has become a condensed symbol saturated with constellations of taken for granted meanings. You just inject the meme, right? And then we use it. I didn't actually know that was Hofstadter who did that, and I just endorsed him as an interesting read.
Yeah.
So, what is less obvious, however, is the degree to which perhaps I am not so unlike Joseph Rogan.
Yeah.
I'm less entertaining and successful. What is less obvious, however, is the degree to which disinformation has evolved into a form of cultural material, of an entertainment industry that constitutes its own form of spectacular governance. Although hardly a situationist, the work of neo-Marxist literary theorist Frederick Jameson is of great usefulness on this point.
Not at all a fan of Frederick Jameson. Like, he's like, yeah, it's like bad.
Well, this is me hearing about him for the first time, and
hearing about this for the first time.
He's not been set up for success for me.
Yeah.
Whether in literary or cinematic form, the conspiracy text for Jameson is a key sign of the cultural hegemony of the geopolitical unconscious, that which now attempts to refashion national allegory into a conceptual instrument for grasping our new being in the world. Every text constitutes a political fantasy of some kind, recapitulating the social totality of the political unconscious, that which sets the parameters of the collective imaginary. For Jameson, every text is at its most fundamental level a political fantasy, which in contradictory fashion articulates both the actual and potential social relations which constitute individuals within a specific political economy. True, and that's why recent that is true enough, and is also why recent historical fiction covering things that are kind of influencing society is always a fucking op. So, like, when Netflix somehow releases a documentary a month after an event, like, that is a fucking op, right? Every time.
Yeah.
Like, that is an attempt to guide the narrative rather than represent, something.
Yeah.
This has never been more so the case than in our contemporary postmodern era. Footnote on postmodern era. Postmodernism is not fundamentally a question of subject matter or themes, but of the full entry of art into the world of commodity production, which is a reference from
shit just makes literally makes my eyes fucking glaze over. This is why
defining postmodernism.
Oh my god, I got in an argument with that about somebody today. Like, I've already done this today.
Yeah, I've already done the arguing about the definition of postmodernism today.
Yeah, we've done that enough today, Mom.
Oh, God. With the unbound hyper-commodification of all... I want just a book of this length, let's say, 300 pages.
Yeah.
I want a book of that length that is nothing but cited references that are just defining postmodernism.
That probably exists.
It probably does. It's the most postmodern book. I want everyone to just reference that book when defining postmodernism. Yeah. If it's not in the defining postmodernism book, it's not postmodern.
It's not. Yeah.
That's the definition. Is it in the book? There. It's sort of like how much. Well, it's just references to other people.
Right, but it's like somebody. It's who was
Capitalisimo.
Who is the
Capitalisimo compiled the list?
Who's the anthropologist? Who's the curator? Who's the curator of this public knowledge artifact?
Capitalisimo. So yeah,
I'm gonna burn in hell. We're all gonna die. We're all going to hell. I'm sorry, I didn't mean this.
Wow. And people say I'm a cynic.
Yeah.
By the way, you saying that you weren't a cynic occurred on the last page, like on the previous page. So it took you one page to say we're all going to die and burn in hell. All right. With the unbound hyper-commodification of all cultural forms acting as the aesthetic complement to globalization and institutionalization of a worldwide corporate network, the master political fantasy of our globalized contemporary is paranoia on the international plane and conspiracy theory at the national level. The expansion of political space into infinity, globalization, permits the emergence of the parapolitical nameless, the unseen, that is which is beyond perception. As Jameson shows, the necessary cultural precondition to the discourse of conspiracy theory is communication, experienced or endured in social terms as connectivity. Is there any faction or sub-state entity of any kind in the world that exists in a state of incommunicability with any other? Anyone in the world, including the private citizen, can conspire with Joseph Kony and the Lord's Resistance Army.
Oh man, Joseph Kony.
Wow,
mentioned.
What a vintage reference.
Yeah.
Kony 2012 is something that that's amazing. Yeah. All right. Wow. That was such a weird reference. All right.
It came out of nowhere.
Came out of absolutely nowhere. This book was published in 2015. He must have written that in the height of Kony 2012.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
He had to.
God, that was a long time ago now. This book is older than I was
Well, one of the reasons why it is pretty interesting is because it's like pre-Trump parapolitics.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
You know, it's pre-Trump. It's immediately pre-Trump, which is why he's able to say things like deep state.
Yeah.
So, all that one needs is access to the internet, capital I, internet. Interesting also to do that. Not surprisingly, the conspiratorial text, whatever other messages it emits or implies, may also be taken to constitute an unconscious collective effort at trying to figure out where we are and what landscapes and forces confront us in a late 20th century whose abominations are heightened by their concealment and their bureaucratic impersonality. It's true. The bureaucratic apparatuses are perpetually a source of horror.
We're doing the capitalization thing now. And for anybody listening along who sees that when you're reading something and you're like, what the fuck is this? And you don't want to go listen to 10 Geo episodes. So when they do the capital thing, that's what I refer to as an idealism. Okay. And so he's positing an ideal thing that is the internet that is actually he's made
the form of the internet.
Well, yeah, actually, most of you all, whenever you talk about being the cozy old internet or whatever, most of y'all are doing a soft, big I internet, and you're remembering a thing in a way that it's an idealized way that maybe never actually existed. But when you just do it straight up, like this motherfucker does, he's starting to get in the habit of doing this. When you do it with history, and you do it with history is the worst form of it, because whenever you do this with history, this is you're positing that you have an ideally perfect model of history and everyone else doesn't. And actually or in the more scholastic sense, what you're doing is you're positing an incorrect version of history that you are nonetheless going to refer to as canonical.
I mean, but isn't that your only referent?
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're doing philosophy of history, you almost have to have both the history that actually occurred, right? Events that truly did happen in the world, and the one that we
they're usually
commonly talk about.
I would like to see usually
which is at best a subset, right? At best a subset,
right? Yeah, I mean the basic claim is that you don't have to pay too much attention to your primary sources because they're probably aberrant in some way anyway. But I would like to point out that schizoanalysis works differently. It avoids ideas and sticks to diagrams. Networking software for accessing bodies without organs. You know, and actually, here in this very sentence, he capitalizes ideas.
Oh no!
Yes, I'm the most Landian person alive. Actually, is the
Nick Land is still alive.
That's I'm.
You're more Landian. Wonderful. Not surprisingly, the conspiratorial text, whatever other messages it emits or implies, may also be taken to constitute an unconscious collective effort in trying to figure out where we are and what landscapes and forces confront us in a late 20th century whose abominations are heightened by their concealment and their bureaucratic impersonality. As a cultural artifact of postmodernism, then, Jameson's conspiracy theory bears two signature characteristics. Firstly, it displays a remarkable affiliation with Burchell's association of conspiracy theory as gossip with cultural studies. Secondly, and more importantly, it represents an attempt to think a system so vast that it cannot be encompassed by the natural and historically developed categories of perception, local or nationalist, with which human beings normally orient themselves. In other words, the sublime.
Oh my God.
I spoke 2 joints.
Yeah. Just like South Park vomiting everywhere. Oh my God. It was bad, okay. Eric. It was bad. Eric is all over the place, and this is his wildest chapter. This is like Eric letting his freak flag fry.
Well, but it seems like what he's getting into is that, so he's
doing theory. He's theory selling.
Well, he's theory selling hard, but he's also I think that there is a point here.
There is a point here.
The point here is going to be that not only, are these events influenced by them, our understanding of the events are influenced by, these influence systems that have, changed them post hoc for whatever contemporary needs arise. Yeah. Right. And so we have things like, All the President's Men and such, which, good movie. You should watch it, but you shouldn't believe a single fucking word because it's fiction. So
I only believe fiction.
Believe fiction. Actually, you know what? That's another thing this is something that the parapolitical would agree with, and also anyone who is a student of MK Ultra like we are would tell you is that something that is purported to be like something sold as nonfiction is inherently less trustworthy than something sold as fiction.
Yeah, right? I think it's totally
pop nonfiction is some of the most evil bullshit that people read. And like when you hear people say, and when I say people, I mean normies. When you hear normies say, well, I only read nonfiction, they're not reading, they're not reading Guy Debord, right?
Dude,
like, they're not reading theory. They say, I'm reading Thomas Piketty.
Yeah, every day at the cafe, I see some motherfucker with the struggle of Israel, like the airport nonfiction, like Zionist propaganda, and they do be taking notes. Like they'll be like sweating and like reading it. And I'm like, oh my God, But
imagine taking notes on that shit.
I can say this because I know she's not listening right now. Krivolopova called me parapolitical.
You are.
No, I'm not. Oh my God.
You are. You obviously are.
You're on a show. You're on a Parapolitics show talking about parapolitics every Monday. No, I'm not. I'm not parapolitics. I'm not. I just learned this word like a month before we did this book.
Well, the meaning cloud of parapolitics encompasses you.
So.
I'm just saying it does. It did before you were on this show too.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
see, no, that's not me. I'm doing a capital letter thing.
What?
I'm doing
parapolitical. You're doing the capital
parapolitical. I'm constructing an ideal concept of parapolitics that somehow excludes me.
It's just a carve out. Yeah. Johnson 30-6. The universalization of a philosopher, which occurs when his name becomes a noun, necessarily precludes the philosopher himself from claiming his own maximalist title. He's defending you as the most Landian person.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. I was talking to somebody else. Somebody who I think was introduced.
I wonder who was the first Hegelian.
But frankly, finally, Sandbatch exposed as the proud black man he is. Wow. But I was talking about Nick Land with somebody else last night who I think actually was introduced to him more or less through that Conrad Flynn interview. And
wow.
and still kind of said, I want to read more about that. But I referred to from Heart of Darkness. I referred to myself. I'm like the Dennis Hopper character from Nick Land.
Okay.
No, or Apocalypse Now. So yeah,
right.
I'm the prime Landian. You don't talk to that man. You just listen. You
love the smell of napalm in the morning.
No.
Say the line. Say the line.
That's the Robert Duvall character. I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Right, that is Robert Duvall. I need to rewatch that movie. Actually, you know what? Apocalypse Now Redux. The only like remake of a classic film that is actually better.
It's not a remake. It's like the extended cut.
Yeah,
you know what else is incredible is the documentary.
Yeah, it's not a full remake. It's like an extended. Yeah, it's like an extended cut with like some other things added and some shots reframed, but it's actually better than the original.
Yeah, it is. I don't know that I've ever seen the original. Actually, I think I may have only ever seen the Redux, and I've seen it a bunch of times. But it's got the the reason I've never watched the other one is because I know my favorite scene's not in the new one, or not in the Redux, and it's the rubber plantation scene.
Oh yeah, it's not in the original. All right. Twice as big as you can imagine. 9/11. Amazing. We're beyond politics now. Richard Nixon, Anthony Hopkins in Nixon. Where we're going, we don't need politics. Debord's reading of the conspiracy transgresses onto dangerous ground, for it is precisely within this space of the order of magnitude of both the spectacle and the parapolitical, or in simpler terms, the size of the conspiracy, that the grotesque is revealed as the dark twin of its falsely assumed opposite, the sublime.
No.
Hold on.
No.
Hold on.
Because that's the uncanny is the opposite, is the dark cousin
opposite of the sublime. Yeah. Oh, that's true.
Gotcha, Eric. Usually Eric has just wandered off. Eric has wandered off the sidelines into my arena now.
Space of the order of magnitude of both the spectacle and the parapolitical, or in simpler terms, the size of the conspiracy. The grotesque is revealed as the dark twin of its falsely assumed opposite, the sublime. The grotesque. So he says the grotesque is the opposite of the sublime. Huh. I mean,
that's a little closer.
Is the uncanny. You know who said that? You know who I think said that? I think that was I think Mark Fisher said that in the Weird and the Eerie, one of his lesser read books.
I never read that.
That's a good one, actually.
I never read any Fisher. Actually, I never read no Fisher.
When you have the like the weird leftist theorists who talk about Lovecraft,
yeah,
in like the aughts and the 20 teens,
Oh, I know.
Weird leftist theorists who talk about Lovecraft during that time period are all fairly interesting.
Yeah.
And I actually, Wilson did write a whole, like, he contributed to a collection that was like all Chthonic or all Cthulhu things. Lovecraftian media analysis type things. Even though I know it's obviously passé and pretty fucking worn out by now, but you know. Anyway, the architect of the onto-epistemological foundations of what is laughingly known as the Enlightenment, Immanuel. Whoa, interesting. So we're counter-signaling he's a leftist counter-signaling the Enlightenment. Interesting. The architect of the onto-epistemological foundations of what is laughingly known as the Enlightenment, Immanuel Kant, doubles as modernity's premier, capital M modernity's premier aesthetician. This should come as no surprise, as Kant's entire metaphysical system ultimately serves an end both aesthetic and epistemological, to organize the world in such a capital W world in such a way as to make it the grounds for objective understanding and absolute knowledge. In other words, to thoroughly serve the purposive, in Heideggerian terms, the reduction of both self and object to correctness. Okay. For Kant, the perception of the world, the transcendental deduction, requires a synthesis of what appears before us within both time and space. The synthetic project of pure reason requires three operational concepts or unities excuse me, of synthesis: apprehension, reproduction, and recognition. Within the Kantian scheme, all knowledge and understanding is ultimately anthropocentric, in that all things must be reduced to units of measure that are compatible with human understanding. There is a footnote here that I missed. Oh, it was on 9/11. The subheading taken from Frank Miller's seminal graphic novel, The Dark Knight Returns, from 1985, the first volume of which features the airborne attempt by psychotic gangster Harvey Two-Face Dent to blow up Gotham City's Twin Towers. Just one of many striking anticipations within the popular culture of the 1980s and 90s of September 11th, 2001. It's always funny when they reference something like that, right? Like you're in a theory book and you reference a DC comic.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Frank Miller's a little better than the average, but it's still, I mean, you know, it's still Batman. Anyway, units of measure that are compatible with human understanding. Cogito. A tree, the height of which we estimate with reference to the height of a man, at all events gives us a standard for a mountain. The categories of pure reason, guaranteeing both the unity of phenomena as well as the ontological unity of the perceiving subject, constitutes the transcendental unity of apprehension. In other words, it is not so much that I perceive objects, it is rather my perception that presupposes the unitary object form as one of the conditions. Okay, everyone agrees. For Kant, the real synthetic formula of the cogito is I think myself, and in thinking myself, I think the object in general to which I relate a represented diversity. Therefore, which is a Deleuze reference in the footnote. Therefore, the operations of the a priori categories of synthetic understanding need to be supplemented by the work of an additional faculty, judgment, which is responsible for subordinating all of the inherent sense diversity of spatiotemporal objects to the operational requirements of the synthetic categories of transcendental reason. The only use which the understanding can make of these concepts is to judge by a means of them. From this follow the two consequences, one phenomenological, the other aesthetic. In terms of the former, the human body itself is the final source not only of the units of measurement, but of the operational constraints of the synthetic categories of reason.
What?
The
synthetic categories of reason?
So he's saying...
Read that sentence again.
Which one?
The one you just finished.
In terms of the former, referring to phenomenology, the human body itself is the final source not only of the units of measurement, but of the operational constraints of the synthetic categories of reason. I think that Kant would probably
disagree,
not entirely agree with that. He would say it is a component, but of course Kant believed in God and the spirit. So
yeah. Okay. I was detecting the bullshit I thought I was detecting. So yeah, we're there.
This primary subjective sensory immediate living measure proceeds from the body, and it takes the body as its primary object. It is the body which erects itself as a measure. It provides the measuring and measurement unit of measure. Of the smallest and largest possible, of the minimum and maximum, and likewise of the passage from one to the other, which is Derrida. In terms of the latter, the lived evaluation of space-time, in part, so he's actually using so most of his references here are analyses from other people.
Yeah.
So he's referencing Deleuze on Kant and Derrida on Kant.
Yeah.
Right. And and Smith.
It's a well-known trick. This is a known trick.
Yeah. So which is, but he's using like atheist materialists to, he's using French atheist materialists to cite Kant. So not a French non-atheist, like non-atheist, non-materialist. In terms of the latter, the lived evaluation of space-time imparts a necessarily aesthetic dimension to judgment, as the operation of perception is inseparable from the appreciation and evaluation of form, which is the domain of the aesthetic properly defined. All estimation of the magnitude of objects of nature is in the last resort aesthetic, i.e. subjectively and not objectively determined. And it is the intrinsically aesthetic nature of judgment that gives rise to one of Kant's seminal concepts, the sublime. Although an aesthetic concept, the sublime is not identical with the beautiful. It is, in fact, antithetical to it. Whereas the beautiful dwells within the realm of intuition, that is, the natural accordance of the spatiotemporal object within the synthetic categories of cogito. Let's see. A footnote
blow
here.
My brains out.
A footnote here. I know. A footnote here. Natural beauty brings with it a purposiveness to its form, which the object seems to be. I have trouble with that word. Which the object seems to be, as it were, pre-adapted to our judgment, and thus constitutes in itself an object of satisfaction. Actually, that's great. And that is Kant. Natural beauty brings with it a purposiveness in its form, which the object seems to be, as it were, pre-adapted to our judgment, and thus constitutes in itself an object of satisfaction. So, like, he's saying natural beauty is things like a really well-formed mountain, or a good stick, or a lovely flower, right? And so the object seems to be pre-adapted to our judgment, and so we find it beautiful as a natural consequence of its superlative form, right? And so that constitutes in itself an object of satisfaction. So the mere existence of like a flower as the reproductive organ of a an angiospermic plant, right? That is satisfying to us. And that is, so Kant, of course, read the primary sources, folks. We're not going to read the primary sources on this show, but you should read the primary sources.
Yeah, we're not going to do that shit. But you go handle it.
Yeah. The sublime is better understood as a form of sensory trauma, the catastrophic or chaotic sundering of the immediacy of perception from the transcendental unity of apperception. The sublime, on the other hand, is to be found in a formless object, so far as in it or by occasion of the boundlessness it is represented, and yet its totality is also present to thought, that which excites in us without any reasoning about it, but in the apprehension of it, the feeling of the sublime, may appear as regards its form to violate purpose in respect to judgment, to be unsuited to our presentative faculty, and as it were, to do violence to the imagination, and yet it is judged to be only the more sublime. That is also Kant. So No, it's saying like, if you've ever had, and you've had a numinous experience, right? Or you've heard the sound in a cathedral for the first time. Those are sublime experiences. And it does kind of rip you out of a previously comfortable sort of inhabitation. Like phenomenologically speaking, it is an experience so dramatically different. Like I went to mass on Sunday in a church in the round. I'm not used to a church in the round.
What does that even mean?
So it is a radially symmetrical church. Obviously, it is cruciform, but the altar is in the center of the angle. Right?
Sounds like some Orthodox shit.
No, it was a Catholic church, and everyone is seated in a circle around the altar. It's the acoustics in it were wild. I literally I am not a super emotional person by any means, but I literally cried a little. I leaked a little. I got glossy and tears came down my cheeks.
Are they in a choir?
It was just the congregation.
Mm-hmm.
So, wow. Yeah. So it was incredible. They did have an organist, but it was incredible. So, yeah. So, but yeah, that's a sublime experience. I don't know. When is the other most recent time I've had a sublime experience? Sometimes I have a sublime experience when I, speaking of natural beauty, you go to a unfamiliar topography and view nature. And sometimes I do feel, I definitely have that sublime experience that is actually kind of saddening. Not necessarily that I'll have to go back to my daily life. But
I have it a lot. I have it all the time. I experience a sublime on a very regular basis.
Randall Shirker says I had that with the Grand Canyon. Yeah, exactly. Perfect example. Right. Some sort of utterly unique natural beauty will completely get you every time. I can imagine that, Sandbatch. I can imagine you being of a personality given to experiences of the sublime, which is you have a little bit of a mystical quality, and so it seems like you might be attuned to such experiences, not having to get ramrodded through them by the architecture of God or
damn. We're but motes of dust and God's eye, man, kind of experience. The most intense that I've ever felt it, I will say, I was hiking into the Guadalupe Mountains, and it was the first time I'd ever been there. And I don't know if and it's one of the least visited national parks.
Never been. Yeah,
I think it's the second least visited national park. It's like on the border, but it's on the Texas-New Mexico border. And I've been hiking for 2 days already because I've started the trail. I started all the way up into the mountains, and as I was hiking up into the mountains, it started to rain. And this is like before I got above the tree line, so I was still in the desert. So like experiencing rain in the desert was probably the most intense that it's ever felt. Yeah, that was cool.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, that seems like a once in a lifetime kind of thing, right?
I don't think it happens often.
Well, obviously it happens more often than
it does. Like it rains well, the people that I stayed with after I was done hiking said it happens about twice a year. It'll rain and that's it, Yeah. So if you don't live there, you're not going to see much of it.
Well, at least we can all say that we understand the sublime, at least on in a core way. Le sublime. All right. Two aspects of Kant's notion of the sublime and their relevance to the grotesque are particularly important. Firstly, as we would expect, the Kantian sublime is remarkably, almost viscerally, phenomenological in nature. Nature is therefore sublime in those of its phenomena whose intuition brings with it the idea of its infinity.
You wander above the clouds.jpg.
Essential to the concept of the sublime is not merely the heightening of the cogito's self-awareness of the grounding of the perception upon the body, but the abject insult inflicted upon the anthropocentric unit of measurement.
We're so far afield from the Bay of Pigs now. I'm like,
bro, hold on. We're gonna bring it home to the Bay of Pigs, bro. Dude, we're gonna talk about immigration numbers. All right. Essential to the concept of the sublime is not merely the heightening of the cogito's self-awareness of the grounding of perception upon the body, but the abject insult inflicted upon the anthropocentric unit of measurement. We call that sublime, which is absolutely great. What is beyond all comparison? The sublime is that in comparison with which everything else is small. Secondly, I don't necessarily, I mean, that is Kant, but I also don't necessarily agree with that. I feel like I've had sublime experiences in, relatively intimate settings, right?
Yeah,
I'm not saying sex. Kant's full of shit.
He is. He's always full of shit. Kant's full of shit. Like about if he was talking, he was shitting.
If he breathing, he
breathing, he's shitting. That's Oh, we're on the air. I can't believe I said that on the air. Oh my god.
What? That if Kant is breathing, he should.
Yeah, my actual thoughts about Kant. But you again, class. What was Immanuel Kant?
French?
German.
Was he? Oh,
yeah. He's German. I don't like Germans.
All right. Secondly, the subjective experience of the sublime is not the objective perception of the immediately unassimilable, sensible diversity of the sublime object, but rather the traumatic inducement of a crisis of confidence in the witness's existential faith in the efficacy of judgment. Okay. True sublimity must be sought only in the mind of the subject judging, not in the natural object, the judgment upon which occasions this state. Consequentially, it is the state of mind produced by a certain representation with which the reflective judgment is occupied, and not the object that is to be called sublime. The sublime is that the mere ability to think, which shows the faculty of mind surpassing every standard of sense. So it makes you. So the sublime is that the mere ability to think, which shows a faculty of the mind surpassing every standard of sense. So you're able to perceive a thing that you're actually incapable of. It's perceiving a thing that you are actually incapable of sensing completely.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Where Kantian aesthetics and parapolitical analysis part ways is at the aesthetic disjuncture that renders the sublime and grotesque irreconcilable. Kant ultimately preserves the cogito by investing the unities of synthesis with the potency to ultimately reduce all phenomena to the requirements of reason, while parapolitics, following the logic of the grotesque, ultimately seeks to shatter faith in the rationality of the political. Well, who the fuck would have that? What sort of fucking moron would have faith in the rationality of the political?
Me.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. Why do you have faith in the Okay. I guess what we should say is whose rationality? The question is whose, right?
Question.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I'm a Christian.
Yeah, but the rationality of the political?
Yeah. This is just Aristotle.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm an Aristotelian. I know. I'm just spilling all my secrets.
We're an Aristotelian this week. All right. While parapolitics, following the logic of the grotesque, ultimately seeks to shatter the rationality of the political. But what phenomenologically unifies the two poles is the irreducible element of visceral trauma. The irreducible element of visceral trauma is a 1 minute and 12-second long thrash song.
Yeah.
Scott's reflections upon 9/11 clearly demonstrate this. The chaotic eruption of a clandestine reality through that catastrophic event resulted in the creation of a partially illusory mental space in which unpleasant facts such as that all Western empires have been lowercase w on Western empires have been established through major atrocities are conveniently suppressed. I suspect, in fact, the most readers will be tempted to reject and forget parapolitical events as something which simply doesn't compute with their observations of America. I say this as one who believes passionately in civilization and fears that by excessive denial, our own civilization may indeed become threatened. Man, that sounds like bullshit. That sounds like some bullshit, right? I think that most people
total bullshit at this point. It's just a question. He's just like layering his bullshit on top of his bullshit. It's an aesthetic. It's an aesthetic.
In what mental space, like such that all Western empires have been established through major atrocities? Like that's just like literal. That's normie political talk.
Yeah, I mean, this is what.
I mean, maybe he wrote this 20 years ago. I don't know.
No, I mean, this is what parapolitics is. Like parapolitics, as I understand it, is whenever you swerve back to dumbass normie takes at the last moment. Like it's like you at the last minute you cite Will Stancil.
At you somehow take the route through Alex Jones to Will Stancil. Yeah. It's just the best drive to the gayest destination. Yes. Oh my god. All right. I also think that based on the previous statement, I say this is one who believes passionately in civilization and fears that by excessive denial our own civilization may indeed be becoming threatened. That sounds like a fucking lie followed by a hoped for conclusion. Just saying. That's like as a lifelong Republican, I can't stand what Trump is doing with ICE. Right? Yeah. Like that's what that statement is.
Again, where you're back at that picture of Rob Schmidt sitting there at the football game with the NFL hat on, and it was captioned, "I have no ideology. I just support the system."
I just support the system. Johnson 30/6 in the chat. Passionately believe in civilization. Leftist pick one. Yep. Very true. Let's see. Vulpus Persona. I went to the Grand Canyon with a Chicago girlfriend over 20 years ago. Her family lived in Tempe. We drove up to visit her dad and us, and we almost had to turn back for snow. We didn't and got there and pulled into a scenic turnout, and I made a snowball and threw it into the canyon. And a 7-year-old witnessed it being blown back out by the wind with me and started throwing his own snowballs.
It's pretty cool.
And watching them be blown back over to us. That's super cool. That's super awesome. That's crazy. I wonder how often it snows at the Grand Canyon. Enough that you could do that. Like, I don't know.
I think it snows a lot there. I think it's not unusual.
Fair enough. Anyway, natural world. Fucking Kino.
Yeah, Kino. Yeah. Sublime, one would even say.
Sublime. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Vulpus Persona, cherished memory. Thank you for sharing it. Yeah, that's super cool. All right. A Chicago girlfriend. Anyway, he had a sport pepper girlfriend. She hopefully she cheered for the Sox.
Yeah,
the Pope's team. Anyway, all right. Where the fuck am I here? The great practical joke that Debord plays on the progressive politics of the Enlightenment about whose long-term prospects he came to increasingly despair during the last years of his life, lies with the incontrovertible proof he provided that the future of democracy belongs to the right. Based. Yes. Unfortunately, we have no use for democracy. Do we, folks?
Are you winning yet, son?
Are you winning yet, fuck? So I mean, it does seem to me that when you start doubting the Enlightenment, I don't think you can be a leftist. I don't think you can. I don't think you can be a leftist.
You can. You're just a communist. That's what communists do.
Communism is the Enlightenment. Communism is liberalism. It's a liberal project. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it fucking is. Yeah. Are you saying that you're a Duganist? You actually think it's a different thing?
I think it's English. Okay, but it's a romantic reaction to the Enlightenment.
I just completely disagree. We can't really get into it right now, but we talk about how
I wrote a master's thesis based on this.
We should talk about how the fourth political theory actually only has one political theory in it, and it's liberalism. All right. Footnote on the right, capital R right, by the way. Just as it was, ironically, the ultimate fate of situationism to become just one more commodity for chic or hip consumerism, as pseudo-situationist slogans of narcissistic rebellion, take your dreams for reality, became a central feature of corporate advertising in the mid-1980s. In a telling inversion of the situationist became the role model of the hedonistic, conspicuous consumer of contemporary city life, perfectly in tune with a culture that feeds on contradiction and contrast, that advertises through anti-adverts and that promotes art through anti-art. What now could be the point of avant-garde when, within the capitalist economy, transgression and shock were recognized as necessary stimulants towards increasing consumption? True. I mean, true.
I'm back on board here.
Who is avant-garde in 2025?
Nobody.
Right?
Nobody. I talk about this all the time on D Spaces, the impossibility of the avant-garde.
Right. The beginning of the appropriation of radical philosophy by consumerism, with the appearance of the paperback industry, the mass production and consumption of universally circulated texts in the 1950s. Absolutely nothing, not even poetry in the street, can ultimately evade capture by capitalism, capital C, which is both fast-moving and wholly predatory. After all, it was Walt Disney himself who said, "If you dream it, you can do it." This is where like all intelligent leftists are merely 20 years behind Nick Land.
Yeah.
Like,
this is his blast off point.
Yep. Since at least the time of Karl Marx, it has been the supreme conceit of the left that it is the true vanguard of history, capital H, precisely because it was able to correctly decipher the objective laws of history, also H. It was always able to act more quickly than the right because it was able to predict more accurately or to see the future, capital F, sooner. Understood in terms of imagery and perception, it becomes clear that the political equation between the left and right is reducible to more foundational issues of perception, speed, velocity, and acceleration. Yes, we said the word. You said say the word again. Who sees first strikes first, and just as in war, wins. Let's see. Footnote, as Mackenzie Wark expresses it, Hegel's owl of Minerva no longer flies at dusk because the shotgun of Dick Cheney fired at first light. What the fuck? Yeah. Okay. Speed itself, therefore, which has not aged well because Dick Cheney is now on the left. So neocons always were. Speed itself, therefore, facilitates change of a wholly virtual form of reality that effectively supersedes the notions of legality and political accountability. The crucial point, a supremely Debordian one, is that it is not the right but the left that has become reactive. The establishment of spectacular domination, actually, that he was really, that assessment was really proven true following Trump. Like the reactivity of the left following the 2016 election was crazy.
I'm still blown away by the capital Fization of
future.
History, of the future.
Capital F future, yeah.
You took too much, Eric.
When you say capital F future, is that like the things that actually will occur? Like,
this is the party's prediction, is what it is.
Yeah. Well, it's just the right side of history. The right side of history is saying I can literally predict the future.
Yeah,
my victory is inevitable. It's always
everything.
It's always been the gayest, most triumphalist thing for the left.
Everything converges back on Will Stansel.
Yes. All right. Speed itself, therefore, facilitates change of a wholly virtual form of reality that effectively supersedes the notions of legality and political accountability. The crucial point, a supremely Debordian one, is that it is not the right but the left that has become reactive. The establishment of spectacular domination is such a profound social transformation that it has radically altered the art of government. This simplification, which has quickly borne such fruit in practice, has yet to be fully comprehended in theory. Gigantic footnote. Compare this with Debord's much earlier clarion call to the orthodox left made in 1957. In a given society, what is termed culture is the reflection, but also the foreshadowing of possibilities for life's planning. Our era is at heart characterized by the great distance at which revolutionary political action lags behind the development of the modern potentialities of production, which demands a superior organization of the world. Capitalism is devising new forms of struggle that has been able to preserve familiar social relations in the great majority of highly industrialized countries, thus depriving a socialist society of its essential material foundation. No doubt Debord had Jackie Gleason and the honeymooners in mind when he wrote that one of the reasons for the American working class's incapacity to become politicized should likely be sought amidst the abundance of televised baseness. Okay. It's weird to call out the honeymooners, I guess. Let's see here. The wider parapolitical implications of speed as the rate of political perception are made clearly manifest by the comments of an anonymous White House aide to the journalist Ron Suskind. Discussing the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003, the aide said that guys like him were in what we call the reality-based community, which he defined as people who believed that solutions emerged from the judicious study of discernible reality. We're an empire now, and when we act, we create our own reality. And while you're studying that reality judiciously, as you will, we'll act again, inventing other new realities, which you can study too, and that's how things will sort out. We're history's actors, and you, all of you, will be left to just study what we do. Interesting. And he is oh God. Oh no. The footnote here, Ron Suskind, without a doubt, from the New York Times, cited in Klein as in Ezra Klein. Mm-hmm. This brings the word to mind the words of Celine: for the time being, only the facts counts, and even this for not for much longer. So it's quoting the biggest nihilist in modern fiction. Okay, let's see. Ezra Klein, yay. Which complements Debord perfectly, which is true. Not only are the subjected led to believe that all you're so quiet right now, you're just like it's like you probably have a 1,000-yard stare from this section.
I absolutely do. Yeah. He's going to talk about Paul Virilio here in a second, though.
You think so? Oh yeah, he is. There's a footnote. Hold on. Ooh, we got a lot left. Yes, we do, sir. All right.
I'm tired and I'm NyQuil is what's going on.
I'm tired, boss. Not only are the subjected led to believe that to all intents and purposes they are still living in a world which in fact has been eliminated, but the rulers themselves sometimes suffer from the absurd belief that in some respects they do too. They come to believe in a part of what they have suppressed, as if it remained reality and had still to be included in their calculations. Their backwardsness will not last long. Those who have achieved so much so easily must necessarily go further. It should not be thought that those who have been too slow to appreciate the pliability of the new rules of their game and its form of barbaric grandeur will last forever, like some archaism in proximity to real power. It is certainly not the spectacle's destiny to end up as enlightened despotism. I don't know about that.
Maybe it is.
I don't know about that. Yeah. But
it's exactly the idea.
But it is true. People don't update their priors. People are slow to react to new reality, to updated reality, right? They'll flit from topic to topic in terms of how much attention they give it, but actually seeing the field of play is not something that is frequently done. Which is why you have. What? Sorry,
Penultimo says, "Man, I missed today's stream because I was watching the Nick Fuentes interview on Tucker's show." That's your fucking fault, buddy. And that thing wasn't even live; it just dropped. You could.
They'll really need to choose the timing better. Yeah, we. I think our biggest competitor is American Spirit.
I knew it was gonna be a down night when I saw that Tucker thing drop, because I knew all of our based fucking parapolitics. Everyone's like, I want to go watch the gay Mexican talk to Tucker. I'm like, okay, we'll do it.
Yes, that's right. Well, we got 400.
Ooh, piece of candy.
Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. Yeah, I don't know. I can't do a good Fuentes. I can't do a good Fuentes.
I taught you all about DDDing, and you were like, "Fuck me, daddy." Oh
my god. All right. The Debordian notion of political victory as the fruit of the shaping of perception is central to the work of contemporary critical theorist Paul Virilio, much of whose oeuvre may be not misleadingly understood as an open-ended gloss on the society of the spectacle. To progress would be to accelerate. After the century of the Enlightenment, there would be the century of the speed of light, and soon our own century, the century of the light of speed. Nice. Virilio closely follows Debord in equating spectacular power with the death of a genuinely progressive discourse. He approvingly quotes St. Augustine, who, when commenting upon the public seduction of the theatrical spectacles, caustically remarked that as one sees oneself in those who seem transported by such objects, one soon becomes a secret actor in the tragedy. And for Virilio, there can be no greater tragedy today than the emergence of the ideal type of a new breed of criminal sovereign, what we might term the parapolitician, the media tycoon, enshrined in cinematic culture as Citizen Kane and embodied within real time as Silvio Berlusconi, the once and perhaps yet again Prime Minister of Italy. Wow, if he had written this a year later, I'm pretty sure I know who he would have mentioned.
Why do they all hate
not without reason, to be clear.
Yeah, Silvio Berlusconi is just not. He's just not somebody that I ever think of as a particularly threatening figure. But the parapoliticians and the lefties, they all hate him. He's the worst thing ever. He's just an Italian dude, He's
literally just every Italian man. They could have randomly assigned it to someone whose great grandparents were born in Naples, and it would have been the same dude. Yes. Oh no, we fucked it up and picked Naples, Florida instead. We got Christopher Sandbatch.
I can totally do it. I can totally. I'm all about it.
Yeah, you could be the prime minister of Italy.
How hard could it be?
In a single generation, you turn it into the American South.
It's already kind of there.
Yeah, they're importing a whole lot of Africans. That's true. Berlusconi's capture of the Italian state was an act of inherently spectacular power. It is not the least of the ironies of Berlusconi's criminal sovereignty that he hid in plain sight. In a mafiosi selective reading of Poe's The Purloined Letter, Berlusconi escaped into the public domain precisely in order to avoid detection, i.e. prosecution, of his private criminal and covert identity. Based. One of the pseudonymous boys made it Anons in control of Italy, or they were in the mid-teens. Now we have that useless woman, or Italy has that useless woman, I should say. She's kind of hot, but she let in a lot of fucking migrants when she ran against letting in any migrants. So, in the words of Fedele Confalonieri, president of Berlusconi's television company Mediaset, if Berlusconi hadn't entered the politics, we would never ended up sleeping under a bridge on a trial for the mafia crimes. Mamma mia! Yet this self-same act of parapolitical camouflage affected the optical reconfiguration of the Italian government into a simulated virtual state. So uncannily perfect is the fusion of simulation with spectacle in Berlusconi's Italy that if this parapolitician did not exist, Berlio would have found it necessary to invent him. Oh, we're making references. Footnote, the more one studies Berlusconi, the more he assumes the guise of a living parody of the power criminal. Not the least of his spectacular propensities is his frequent use of fake quotations. If you want to convince someone, Berlusconi told his sales force, make up a quotation and attribute it to some renowned authority. So use this method. As Bill Paley of CBS says, as Plato said, as Abraham Lincoln said, who's ever going to go and look it up? People are incredibly gullible. They love quotations. The same technique is a central feature of Al Pacino's hyperkinetic portrayal of the arch gangster boss, Big Boy Caprice, in Warren Beatty's 1990 film Dick Tracy. Unnervingly, Caprice makes frequent bogus references to both Plato and Lincoln. I mean, yeah, but no one watched that movie.
Yeah, I've never even heard of that one.
You've never heard of Dick Tracy?
No, no. Like we're way beyond. We're like my eyes are glazed over from theory, and we're well into I'm having flashbacks to grad school. Ready to sit through like endless pop culture references. I'm like, you all know I read John Keats.
Yeah, right. I remember being a kid and really wanting so they made the Batman movies, and the first two had come out, I think, or something like that. And I was thinking man, I would really like a Spider-Man movie. I was, 8. It's I would really like a Spider-Man movie or an X-Men movie or something like that. And then they made a Dick Tracy movie, which was so fucking crazy because it was it's like someone told the old fucking dudes running the studios that, man, these comic movies are doing really good. And they're like, oh, comic movies. Wow. Then he didn't think of comic books. He thought of comic strips. Yeah. And so he was like, well, let's get Warren Beatty for Dick Tracy. The kids will love that. Right. Let's make, Annie. They also made, you just make comic strip movies. It is never happening. We never got a Dilbert movie. Sorry, Scott. You missed the train on that one. All right. Let's see here. But anyway, it was like this huge budget movie. I haven't, oh yeah, Vulpes Persona. Yeah, Dick Tracy's a movie I never saw again since childhood. Yeah, like same, exactly. I saw it once in the early '90s, and then never again. No one talks about it. The election of Silvio Berlusconi as the head of the Italian government in 2001 has opened up a trans-political era of a new kind. Well, let me tell you about the present one. After his failed tryout of 1994, Il Cavaliero has in fact just carried out a coup d'etat, and Italy has just toppled over into a two-party system of the third kind, in which the alternative is no longer between classical left and right, but between politics and media. No longer content with occupying the stage of daily life with its great Big Brother-style game shows, telereality is now invading the sets of the Res Publica. And for the first time in Europe, we are looking on mesmerized at the unprecedented victory of the champion of telocracy over representative democracy's man. The triumph of audience ratings over universal suffrage. I mean,
okay, I can see where he's going with this now. Okay, it's starting to make a little sense.
No, fair enough. That totally makes sense.
I don't agree with it, but yeah.
No, but that is what mass democracy is. Like, that is the mediocrity, not mediocrity, mediocracy. Like rule through messaging is the inevitable fate of mass democracy. Like, that's what happens.
Yes.
So, like, we should not be surprised. Anyway, of course, it happened much sooner in Italy than it did elsewhere. Of critical importance to the radical criminologist is the notion of the parapolitician. Actually, you know what? It's almost like Berlusconi and Trump were a hack on the apparatus, right? They got the public mind can't actually tell the difference between someone who is in the media as a newsman and someone who is in the media as, an actor or something like that. Yeah. Just any personality is fungible.
Yeah.
And exactly. so all of them are completely, interchangeable. I mean, it seems like that's how it happened, right? Functionally how it happened. Obviously, Trump was saying things that no one else was saying as well, but it's not like his previous media career was not any help to him, right?
I mean, there's no distinction between media and political figures now. In fact, at this point, it's probably better to be a political figure than a media figure. I mean, a media figure than a political figure. Like Theo Von. Theo Von is like commenting on immigration policy. It's like hell.
Truly, we live in hell.
Truly, we live in hell. Yes.
What have we done to be born into such a state? Those the more of like every day we stray further from God.
Every day we stray further from God. Yes.
Of critical importance to the radical criminologist is the notion of the parapolitics. I like how he's occasionally just like comes back to this is a criminological book. Like, to the radical criminologist is the notion of the parapolitician as the site of a convergence between clandestine agency and the alteration of political perception through cinematic technique. To grasp the real importance of the analyzer that speed, especially audiovisual speed, now represents, we must turn again to the philosophical definition. Speed is not a phenomenon, but a relationship between phenomena. In other words, it is the very relativity or transparency of the reality of appearances, but a spatio-temporal transparency that here supersedes the spatial transparency of the linear geometry of the optical lenses, hence the term transappearance to designate the transmitted electronic appearances, whatever the space interval separating them from the observer. This subject or subjugated observer thus becomes inseparable from the observed object because of the very immediacy of the interface, the aptly named terminal that perfects the extension and duration of a world reduced to man-machine communion, where the spatial depth of perceptival geometry suddenly gives way to the temporal depth of a real-time perspective superseding the old real space perspective of the Renaissance. You like that? Was that suitable?
It was too intense.
Was that suitable virile virilio?
Yeah. I don't know what he sounds like.
I don't either. But it seems like that was an awful lot to say, that the concept of speed requires the participation of the observer, in the sense that the observer must be relatively stationary when speaking on the topic of whatever is observed. That's the only thing that matters.
He's the reigning champ, and I sort of feel the same way.
In an unintentionally revealing interview with journalist Alexander Stilley, Berlusconi represented himself as the incarnation of the post-abortian telematic analyzer. Berlusconi's official position within the public state is determined by his unofficial domination of virtually all forms of televisual communication. This yields a cognitive dissonance of parapolitical dimension, as Stilley himself clearly perceives. I found Berlusconi to be psychologically one of the strangest people I have ever met. I have never before interviewed anyone who told so many obvious untruths with such enthusiastic conviction. In grappling with Berlusconi's curious relationship with factual truth, it began to dawn on me that what I was encountering was a deep anthropological difference.
Yeah, there it is.
My obsession with factual accuracy, documentation, objective truth was all part of my baggage as a print journalist, the quaint and naive and old-fashioned credo of the age of Gutenberg and the Enlightenment.
Yeah.
Berlusconi is a man of a different age, of the age of television and mass media, in which image and perception are all that really matter. Berlusconi is decidedly a creature and creator of the postmodern world, where it doesn't matter what actually happened, but what people think happened. Don't you understand, he told one of his closest advisors, that if something is not on television, it doesn't exist. Not a product, a politician, or an idea. And because the things we were discussing, his conflicts of interests, the crimes of which he and his associates have been accused, and in some cases convicted, have not been aired in Italian television, they too did not exist. Sounds like Berlusconi sounds like a pretty cool dude, to be honest. But
I mean, yeah, I've never seen anything about him, but of course we're also products of this age or whatever it is. That's what Paul Aurelio would say.
Yeah,
I don't know what he looks like. I've never seen him before.
I bet he's not virile.
Yeah.
Although every politician,
no, he's kind of a good-looking dude.
Oh, great, good for him. Nominative determinism. Hold on.
No, never mind. I was looking at a good picture of him. He's a crusty old French fag. Oh no, you shoot! Sorry, I do that. Yeah.
I mean, he looks normal. He looks like a normal old guy.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, he looks like a slightly more robust Nick Land. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. All right. Although every politician utilizes television as a political instrument, Berlusconi is the first parapolitician to evidence a belief in television as a social force in a manner unnervingly reminiscent of futurism. Very, very, very based. Very based Italian futurism. You'd love to see it. Marinetti, great man. The true irony of Berlusconi's telefuturism, a revolutionary form of post-democratic governance in which politics is effectively reduced to trivia or e-tainment. Contemporary identity politics might be best understood as the North American variety of this, both Fox News and MSNBC, as pseudo-journalist infomercials targeted at rival groups of consumers. I mean, where's the lie? is the speed in which it transits from the epistemological simulation to the ontological, the absence of being. An irony that is only furthered when we recall that the temporal site of the emergence of the dual state is the Italian Renaissance. It is not a coincidence that the virtual representation, he's definitely saying representation and not representation, of the state as optical phenomenon was spawned by the same rebirth that gave us modern politics and linear perspective. As Virilio observes, Renaissance painting, linear perspective and depth, lays the foundation for the Enlightenment anthropic principle, which regards the existence of any observer as inseparable from the existence of rationally observed phenomena. Virilio footnote. Virilio's claim that the Renaissance geometry was the basis for all subject-object relations and therefore all critical thought and ultimately all human values. Interesting. The elaborate civic rituals of Il Stato established the iterability of the state as both an agent of perception and as an object of sight. Public procession generated the simulacra of the transparent state, whose truth and being was commensurate with its entry into the collective gaze of Il Popolo. Let's see here. Another big footnote. In placid Venice, the ducal procession was the constitution, while in volatile Florence, public processions were used after aborted conspiracies and when illegitimate governments were toppled. Compare the accounts of Muir and Trexler with Debord's critical comments on the documentary film in his own anti-documentary Critique of Separation, produced in 1961. Society broadcast to itself its own image of its own history, a history reduced to a superficial and static pageant of its rulers, the persons who embody the apparent inevitability of whatever happens. How do you feel about, would you call that the same thing as the great man?
Yeah, it's the first parapolitician. It's probably something a little closer to Nietzsche, but I mean, it's definitely there. I mean, really, you're looking.
You sound very concerned.
I'm not doing well over here, man.
I forgive you. The audience might not forgive you, but yeah. I forgive you.
I'm like sweating and shit. I'm
sweating and shitting.
I'm getting and coming. Pretty much. I'm like starting to get a little concerned for my health.
Well, you're all NyQuil'd up, so you probably got that green death flavor lingering in your tonsils.
Well, yeah. I mean, can you like tell that like my throat clearing is getting worse as we go on? I'm not even smoking. I'm not even smoking. Like I'm getting sick.
Well, perhaps you should eradicate the illness from your lungs with some healthful nicotine.
I don't think that's doing any good.
You're entering. Randall Shirker says Sandbatch finally entering the real DDD mode. You're experiencing debility. You're experiencing debility. Now all you need is someone to nightingale you back to health.
Debility, discordianism, and death. Does that ever happen? Do people ever get nightingaled back to health? I don't think so.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, you get a Florence Nightingale, and then she falls in love with you because you're her patient. But then she's also got Munchausen by proxy, so she like keeps you sick.
Yeah,
so you're totally dependent on her, which is also part of the DDD method.
It's so hot, but like the only thing I ever get is like Haitian nurses.
Oh no, you're gonna get DDD'd into not being racist.
Yeah.
What's the worst that could happen?
I don't think it's like the ship.
Sandbatch isn't a trud anymore.
Yeah, the ship has totally sailed on that.
Ship has totally sailed. I feed you kichi and stockfish. You feel better. That would be a Nigerian nurse, actually. I don't think they eat stockfish in Haiti. They eat dirt cookies. and each other, I guess. Maybe your Haitian nurse will feed you some healthful dirt and Haitian meat soup to get you back to 100%. Let's see here. Berlusconi, as a post-futurist virtual prince, provides the parodic gloss upon Renaissance civic ritual. His procession through the public space is commensurate with his parapolitical manipulation of judicial and paramilitary immunity, or parliamentary immunity. Berlusconi's public representation is itself the highly self-conscious, if not cynical. Here I adopt Peter Solterjik's definition of cynical reasoning as especially appropriate for Berlusconi's Italy. Peter Solterjik?
Yeah, that's impressive.
Not someone who I'm familiar with.
Zornunziet, Rage in Time. He's one of my guys.
One of your guys.
Yeah.
So you're big into him. Okay.
I'm not big into it. I was like 10 years ago. I was, yeah.
All right.
Now I read John Keats,
Fair enough. Cynicism is enlightened false consciousness. It is that modernized unhappy consciousness on which enlightenment has labored both successfully and in vain. It has learned its lessons in enlightenment, but it has not, and probably was not able to, put them into practice. Well off and miserable at the same time, this consciousness no longer feels affected by any critique of ideology, its falseness already reflectively buffered. It is the stance of people who realize that the times of naivete are gone. Sandbatch, how do you feel about that?
The times of naivete are gone.
So it's you. You're the one in the picture.
It's me.
It's me. I'm the one.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me.
I think it's just that earlier in this show you said that you were not a cynic.
I'm not.
But you just said that you fit this definition of cynicism.
Yeah, I know. I don't think it's. You
don't think it's a definition of cynicism.
I don't think it's a good definition of cynicism.
Is it a little cynical to say that? Just a little.
Damn it.
Damn it. Randall Shirker, $5. Since we're on the subject, one of my gotcha waifu games had a story with an MK Ultra-esque plot. Hate how I truly cannot escape it. You best start believing in MK Ultra-esque plots. You're in one.
Sandbatch coin dropping like a lead balloon. Oh my god. Yeah, it's so true. I've been unmasked for a Stancil tier fool. Contradicting myself on my own show.
Sandbatch, you could never become a lol cow. It would never happen. It would never happen. You're not interested enough in everyone's perception of you for you to become a lol cow. Let's see. Parapolitical simulation of lawful authority. The space that separates the Renaissance ritual Stato from Berlusconi's virtual state is the difference between the illusory and the delusional. The state's only original existence is as a visual hallucination, akin to dreaming. The political crisis of legitimacy of the disappearance of the Italian public state into the politicized aesthetics of the virtual state, occasioned by Berlusconi's dual capture of both the government and the media, is the real-time occurrence of the epistemic crisis of Renaissance epistemology described by Virilio.
It's so much word selling. I mean,
so much word selling.
I don't know that I totally disagree with it, but I think other people have said it better. I mean, like the guy that I go to for all of this is Reinhard Koselleck, and he's called what he calls the pathogenesis of modernity. I think is still the best explanation. But how I can't say that over and over again. I just have to point at it. Just like don't maybe tap the sign,
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we are in the shit here. Like, look at this. There's another massive Virilio quote.
Yeah.
All right. This indirect light of telecommunications is ultimately the result of the fusion of optics and kinematics, a fusion which now embraces the whole range of ocular, graphic, photographic, and cinematographic representations, making each of our images a kind of shadow of time, no longer the customary passing time of historical linearity, but the exposed time, which surfaces. This is the time of Nipsey's photographic development, the time of the Lumiere brothers cinematograph resolution of movement. But now, above all, the time of videographic high definition of a real-time representation of appearances, which cancels the very usefulness of passive geometric optics in favor of an active optics capable of causing the decline of the direct transparency of matter. What is inordinately privileged by this process is the indirect electro-optical transparency of light, or, to be even more precise, of the light of the speed of light. Thus, after the nuclear disintegration of the space of matter, which led to the political situation that we know today, the disintegration of the time of light is now upon us. Most likely, it will bring an equally major cultural shift in its wake, so that the depth of time will finally win out over the depth of spatial perspective inherited from the Renaissance.
Depth of spatial perspective. I can't figure out what he's either incredibly right there, or I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
I think I am not entirely certain what that is saying.
That's like, okay, honest, that's like you caught a bit of dead air from me, because that just said, yeah. I understand now why he's on my bibliography, because whatever that's.
I think that literally what he's saying here is that the development of literally the imaging technology has allowed it to become real time, absolutely zero lag, and so we can stream reality back to ourselves in real time, and so we can fully intermediate everything.
Flip the page back one.
Okay,
we're gonna do some sandbatching live.
All right.
I need the quote. Where the fuck is it?
No, okay, the indirect light of telecommunications is ultimately the result of the fusion of optics and kinematics, a fusion which now embraces the whole range of ocular, graphic, photographic, and cinematographic representations, making each of our images a kind of shadow of time, no longer the customary passing time of historical linearity, but the exposed time which surfaces. This is the time of Nipsey's photographic development, the time of the Lumiere brothers' cinematographic resolution of movement. But now, above all, the time of videographic high definition of a real-time representation of appearances, which cancels the very usefulness of passive geometric optics in favor of an active optics capable of causing the decline of the direct transparency of matter.
I'm with him right up to there, but like I still might be with him. I've just never seen somebody phrase
what is
it this way.
Inordinately privileged by this process is the indirect electro-optical transparency of light, or to be even more precise, of the light of the speed of light. Okay. Thus, after the nuclear disintegration of the space of matter, which led to the political situation that we know today, the disintegration of the time of light is now upon us. So there's no, like, we can deliver image immediately. We can deliver image with immediacy, right? So there's no time, there's no lag.
Yeah.
Is now upon us. Most likely it will bring an equally major cultural shift in its wake, so that the depth of time will finally win over to the depth of spatial perspective inherited from the Renaissance. So we no longer think of the world in the same way, just because of the way that we are.
Okay, yeah. I'm with him.
So,
I'm actually with him 100% there. And
I think it's true. Yeah,
spooked me a little bit, but I also point out that Meltdown has a place for you as a schizophrenic, HIV, transsexual, Chinese, Latino, STEM addicted LA hooker with implanted microshades and a bad attitude.
I am kind of I saw a video today, playing very tiny on the screen that I carry in my pocket everywhere. And it was a picture, and it was an image of someone flying into the eye of a hurricane that is presently forming in the Caribbean and threatening to devastate Cuba and Jamaica.
Oh no!
All right.
It's coming here then, isn't it?
Hold on. And so
Better look this
the
up.
eye of this storm was enormous, right? Like a magisterial. And there was no way that, like, and I feel as though I have seen it, but of course I have not seen it, because seeing it would be to be in that space, right? To be in a tiny plane, a plane that's 100 times larger than a person, but also not like, but also like being dwarfed being dwarfed by these walls of storm all around you, right? And so, what Virilio is saying here is, you have this sort of, when he says matter was disintegrated, it's because you no longer have to interact with matter to like view the thing.
Yeah,
right?
that's good. I'm trying to.
But,
I'm trying
so
to.
now now there's also he's obviously being obscurant. Like,
is he? Well, I can't decide if he's being too French. Is what is like.
It might be
just like a French idiom.
Are you being French? Yes, you're being too French. There you go. But the essential observation here is it seems to me to be very true. So
this is a very interesting. Thank you for alerting me to the existence of this Category 5 storm that is going to be.
Yeah, no problem.
It's like looks decidedly like it's on the Katrina route right now, and like could easily destroy everything that oh my god! No! Like within 24 hours of me getting back from California.
Well, climb a tree, homie.
Yeah. Fuck. I'm sick. I'm going to California. This hurricane's gonna kill everybody. This is the end. This is the end.
This is the end.
Dun dun dun.
Right. One can scarcely hope for a better Debordian metaphor than the disintegration of the time of light. Within Berlusconi's virtual state, political meaning or truth had been suspended by the optical negativity of the telematic. Herein, the dual state, a metaphorical composition of space, crime, and light, deep equals dark equals crime, disappears through the sensory bombardment of the high-speed circulation of post-political simulacra. As with Stille's mournful invocation of the obsolete cognitive tools of the Enlightenment and a lingering normative outrage over the parapolitical substance of the dual state is unveiled as yet one more archaic metaphysical superstition.
Whoa.
It is really funny that he keeps going back to Berlusconi, because anyone, post 2016 would not really.
I mean, when I was in grad school in 2016, they were always talking about Silvio, but like then it is actually true. They shifted in real time to talking about one guy, and nobody in academia has stopped talking about that one guy ever since.
I mean, the guy who completely exploded your perception of reality is,
I exploded Penultimo's perception of reality. It says it right there. He says the TFW, the reality served to my screen is some Sandbatch spurging. Excuse me, I'm trying to keep my fevered brain. I'm trying to keep my fevered brain inside my head to entertain you hooligans for another 20 minutes, and then I have to start considering the possibility that my entire life is going to be obliterated by yet another Cap Verde hurricane.
Procrustus the Clown says, "Can I skip everything but the stims and the bad attitude?"
That's what I keep saying.
Do not stay in this guy's guest bed.
Yeah.
But yes, that you can go straight to the stimulants. Penultimo, how will AI affect the way we perceive the world in the future if we can no longer trust the images in real time we are served? Very true. Very true. That is a good point. We're actively making not only records but pure simulation. Yeah. Let's see, especially pure simulation that is convincing, right? Convincing simulations. The idea that the real forces behind or underneath the screen can be revealed based on the presumption that the media themselves do not have power, but instead are tools in the hands of manipulating third parties. The quest for hidden power not only underestimates the feature of media power, it also sticks to the rules of old power, which is in fact disappeared within the media. Yeah, I like that. I mean, that's true. So that there is a power inherent in the media itself, where sometimes a message will get out of control and have consequences that are not previously anticipated by the one who has distributed it or produced it. That's definitely a feature. It's not always predictable what mass consumption will do to an idea.
Right, hold on, I'll be right back.
However it's presented. Here I am reminded of Jean Baudrillard's famous account. Mike Full mentioned Baudrillard's famous account of the alibi, the substitution of the false image as validation of the perceived absence of the thing that is true. For Baudrillard, the two-party system is an alibi for the one-party state. In Italy, the parapolitical one-party state is the alibi of both the multi-party system and the trans-political spectacle that both spawns and is sustained by. Once again, we encounter Tunader's admonition of the failure of liberal political discourse to encounter parapolitical telereality. With the criminal sovereign Berlusconi as our exemplar, we can now appreciate more readily the criminological relevance of Virilio's radical and subversive optics. To admit that for the human eye, the essential is invisible, and that since everything is an illusion, it follows that scientific theory, like art, is merely a way of manipulating our illusions, went against the political philosophical discourse, then evolving in tandem with the imperative of convincing the greatest number, with its accompanying desire for infallibility and strong tendency towards ideological charlatanism. Publicly, to point to how mental images are formed, including the way the psychophysiological features carry their own fragility and limitations, was to violate a state secret of the same order as a military secret, since it masked a mode of mass production that was practically infallible.
I sort of believe some of this, but this is just floods back to my concept of everything as aesthetics. But this is where I'm not. I think they're being cynical.
You think they're
wrong with that? They think it's some sort of degeneration or something. We're going, no, it's how it always was.
What do you mean?
Everything's aesthetic,
right?
And they're we'll go a couple. Of course, I had to leave for a second. When I came back, it was like, okay, they're doing this. They're like, oh, there's really what they would do is they would the leftist sort of take on this is that, what we could do is abrogate, because we've already abrogated aesthetic theory, we've abrogated the concept of beauty, and then we can now make an equivalence to the concept of beauty with scientific theory as well. We can now also abrogate scientific theory and do infinity illegal immigrants. It's literally the flow chart.
Yeah. What do we get? Every single time I run the numbers, it says infinity illegal immigrants. If the correlation between spectacular power and speed politics is correct, then the entire phenomenon of parapolitics quite literally can be viewed in terms of optical considerations of high resolution or high definition as factors governing the invisibility of the power crime event, a constant and rapid alteration between foreground and background, between the visible and the invisible. Conversely, the state as a final arbiter of all definitional thresholds of criminality may be reconceptualized in terms of its existence as an optical effect. Juropolitical truth is mediated through surveillance and transparency. Virilio has made this point clearly through a striking example taken from the modes of political control developed during the French Enlightenment. It is no longer the body of the army that passes back and forth in tight ranks beneath the regard of the intendant. Now it is the inspector general that files past in review of the provinces, aligned as in a parade. Yet the repetition of these reviews that triggers the unfolding of the regional film is only an artifice, only a cinematic special effect which benefits the itinerant observer. Perceiving the sequence of geographic locations in this isolated fashion, the general loses sight of the local realities and immediately demands the reform of the common law in order to advance the administrative standard. I'm not sure how this connects.
We don't have a torch here. We need a torch.
We need a torch. We need a fucking light. We need a light. We need a skeleton key to this text. Yeah. Let's see here. Coordination between spectacular power and speed politics. The entire phenomenon is optical considerations. Okay. So the geopolitical truth is mediated through surveillance and transparency. So they're watching you watch them and obscuring what is.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, they're watching you watch them and utterly obscuring everything that is viewed. Okay, there we go. That's it. The state is real precisely to the degree that it is capable not only of perception, but also to the same degree that in the same manner that it is capable of being perceived. The state, in order to be real, must necessarily exhibit some degree of virtuality. Right. So it has to simulate what is expected. Not the derealized projection of an illusory reality, but a change of identity, a displacement of the center of ontological gravity of the object considered. Oh, it's trans society. It's trans reality. The paradox then of the surveillance society is that its optical hegemony, the expansion of surveillance, always stands in inverse relationship to the visibility of the state. So, yeah, the expansion of surveillance always stands in inverse relationship to the visibility of the state. So the more people are watching, the less that they will see, right? Because the state can not afford to be visible, so it has to conceal.
What he's pushing back here again is the James C. Scott legibility thesis that I talk about quite a bit, but I don't feel well enough to get into now. But if you're interested in the opposition theory that he's pushing back against, he's making a. This is where lefties kind of turn and get kind of based a little bit, because they're making a case that the no, they're not being based. Never mind.
Okay. All right, great. The paradox then of the surveillance society is that its optical hegemony, the expansion of surveillance, always stands in inverse relationship to the visibility of the state. The state creates its own virtual existence through time by means of the continuous recirculation of the externalized signs of its visibility through space. Things like, I would probably say elections are one of these things in most cases. The processions of the intendant's entourage through the geospatial territory of the state both sees and is seen. This ritualistic act of mutual constitution, however, serves as the grounds of a dangerous metaphysical trap for the state. In effect, the reality of the state is reduced to its virtual appearance. Here, of course, real means lawful. The prejudice of modern liberalism is that the mutual conditionality of the reality of the legality of the state is guaranteed by the state's codeterminate existence with the visible or public realm, the onto-epistemological encumbrance inherited from the linear perspective of the Renaissance. So basically they're saying that the actions that are not visible to the public are inherently viewed as illegitimate. But of course, the government has to do things that are not visible to the public. So the government inherently does illegitimate things. It is observed and observing. So let's see. Let's see, footnote here, the Enlightenment's prejudice in favor of the optical may be the ideological basis of liberalism's refusal of conspiratorial views of the state. The universal criticism of conspiracy theory is lack of evidence, that is, the absence of visible and therefore detectable historical traces. All right. Makes sense. Somewhat. At least I'm following that thread. Let's see here. In fact, every state is a parapolitical entity that auto-defines its own parameters through its control over the discourse of legality and the praxis of visibility. Okay, one interesting thing that he said is that it's a trap where the state also, the state has to be reduced to virtual appearance. But if someone is operating a state with that reality in mind and not doing any occluded things, like they're not actually doing any esoteric hidden things, then it utterly falls apart.
Yeah.
Right. So you have Kamala Harris, Brat Summer, like purely AstroTurf type of event, right? So, yeah, that is.
I love Kamala Harris.
I love her so much. I love Camel Toe Harris.
I love her so much. She's so like, it's just like the worst anybody could be. It's so bad.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry.
All right, we're gonna try to get to the situation of the mass media. Because I feel like it would be a fucking nightmare to start this up again next week, right at the conclusion of the section.
Yeah.
So, every state is a parapolitical entity that auto-defines its own parameters through its control over the discourse of legality and the practice of visibility. It is important to recall here that international law lacks a formal theory of the state. Of course, international law is obviously bullshit. The only international law that actually exists is war.
Well, it's sort of this is what it, by definition, it can't have a theory of the state for that exact reason. Yeah.
Instead, it substitutes hermeneutics, the close reading of the sign systems of the state, for a juridical ontology. The resultant metaphysical lacuna allows for the occupation of the empty discursive space of the rule of law state by the parapolitical and intensely heterogeneous dual state. Virilio, like Debord, is highly cognizant of this parapolitical truth. It does kind of make sense that international law could not have a concept of the state, because then the question would be who is enforcing international, like who is sovereign, who is enforcing international law, and it's pretty clearly just international law is just a phony cudgel to manipulate voters, right? Manipulate populations to support whatever the state wants them to do. Like, this other state is violating international law and is therefore bad.
Right.
So we can do whatever we want to them. Anyway, the resultant metaphysical lacuna allows for the occupation of the empty discursive space of the rule of law state by the parapolitical and intensely heterogeneous dual state. Virilio, like Debord, is highly cognizant of this parapolitical truth. The state apparatus is in fact simply an apparatus of displacement, déplacement. Its stability appears to be assured by a series of temporary gyroscopic processions of delocalization and relocalization. I could have gone with deterritorialization. The demarcation of the political body of the state rests largely upon its successful deployment of its arsenal of optical devices. Panoptical technique and its variables, most crucially its velocity, serve as the parameters within which the state regulates the politics of appearance. What we see arises from what is not apparent. Such control of a high-velocity virtual reality would operationally double as the control of the invisibility or disappearance of the parapolitical reality. And Virilio himself could not improve upon the final paragraph of comments on the society of the spectacle. We must conclude that a changeover is imminent and ineluctable in the co-opted caste who serve the interests of domination, and above all manage the projection of that domination. In such an affair, innovation will surely not be displayed on the spectacle stage. It appears instead like lightning, which we know only when it strikes. This changeover, which will conclude decisively the work of these spectacular times, will occur discreetly and conspiratorially, even though it concerns those within the inner circles of power. It will select those who will share its central exigency, that they clearly see what obstacles they have overcome and of what they are capable. As a reader may be aware, the year 2001 marks two seminal events in the operation of spectacular power: the election of the politician of spectacle Berlusconi and a major architectural disaster in New York City. Wow, what a way to bury the lead. On September 11th, 2001, architectural disaster.
Wow. The woke has gone too far.
Wow. On September 11th, 2001, the Manhattan skyline became the front of the new war. The anonymity of those who initiated the attack merely signals for everyone the rise of a global covert state, of the unknown quantity of private criminality, that beyond good and evil, which has for centuries been the dream of the high priests of an iconoclastic progress. And that was Virilio. For Virilio, as for Debord, if he were alive today, the two catastrophes signify a remarkable cultural convergence. He is saying that the election of Berlusconi is the same as 9/11. Okay. I mean, I don't know, maybe for an Australian. Not for an Australian. The consequences for the entire world of 9/11 is dramatically higher than the election of Berlusconi. Like, ridiculous, kind of silly. And I mean, because the United States is in fact sovereign, and during the unipolar moment, the U.S. springing into action was in fact a big fucking deal for everybody.
Yeah. It's the only thing in our lifetimes that's ever actually happened.
Yeah, the only thing that happened. Nothing happened between then and 2016.
Yeah.
For Virilio, as for Debord, if he were alive today, the two catastrophes signify a remarkable cultural convergence. As the attack on the World Trade Center was being broadcast live, many TV viewers believed they were watching one of those disaster movies which proliferate endlessly on the TV screens. It was by switching channels and finding the same pictures of the same situations that they finally understood that it was true. That I am not certain that I'm not certain that I like that phrasing, that little anecdote there, because that anecdote, if true or untrue, could be supremely manipulative.
Right.
Let's see here. And speaking of supremely manipulative, here is Wilson's personal anecdote in the footnote. A personal anecdote might be in order here. In February 2010, I was in New York City for the first time since 9/11. Naturally, I asked as many New Yorkers as possible concerning their experiences on September 11th. Literally all of them who witnessed the Twin Towers attack in person likened the event to watching a movie. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy thing to say.
Very real, yeah. Oh man, I see where we're going with this. Oh man,
are we going to do it? The spectacle of the Twin Towers serves as the primal. Hold on. No, we don't have the reference. We don't have the reference to A New American Century. We don't have the reference. It's not in the footnotes. You would have put it in the footnotes, right? The spectacle of the Twin Towers serves as the primal imagery of the War on Terror, experienced on the national plane as an... God damn it, Wilson. You fucking had to say plane, didn't you? The spectacle of the Twin Towers serves as the primal imagery of the War on Terror, experienced on the national level, the national plane, as an irrevocable shift in the constitutional balance of power to the executive, commensurate with a parallel acceleration of the executive military decision making. let us make no mistake about it. The modernity of Big Brother and its clones is the direct successor to the multimedia presentation of the Gulf and Kosovo conflicts, an image strategy which preceded the perfectly orchestrated strategy of the terror attacks of September 2001, says Virilio. Here as elsewhere, what is troubling about the covert state of transnational terrorism, that unknown quantity, is its growing subordination to a techno-scientific progress, which is itself unauthored and dependent on the development of its own audiovisual media and platforms. The scientific imagination ultimately suffers the same fate as e-tainment. It comes to resemble that of those TV viewers who thought the attacks on the World Trade Center of September 11th was merely another disaster movie, or that of Islamic suicide attackers no doubt dying happy at becoming actors in the global superproduction in which reality would tip over once and for all time into electronic nothingness. Scott's distinctive parapolitical poetic and his emphasis upon the irrationality of the dual state are strikingly psychoanalytical in nature, creating perhaps deliberately a series of meaningful associations: repression, denial, the unconscious, guilt, transference. Missing, though, but synonymous with all of the above, is the notion of dream. Revealingly, dream in German is Traum, which evokes trauma. Trauma, in turn, is etymologically derived from the Greek word for wound, a rupturing by force that serves as a sign of combat and violence. If the essence of neurosis is conflict, then every act of repression is a self-inflicted wound. Every dream that symbolically announces the presence of the repressed is a signifier of drama.
Unfortunately, I agree.
You agree with the Traum?
Yeah, I'm there. That's where this is like I can't abandon my own poetry, and my own poetry sort of backs this up. So I'm colored and I'm fenced in. I'm stuck.
Amazing. Did you know there's so much left? It's great. Okay. All right. Well, the situation of mass media, that's where we'll pick it up next week. Sandbatch, do you have anything coming up in the next week? You doing any you doing a special Halloween stream?
Why would I?
I don't know why you would. I'm just asking if you have anything coming up between now and the next show.
No, in fact, I'm not gonna delete my Twitter, but I'm not even gonna be tweeting. Like I gotta get a lot of work done, and then I gotta catch a plane, and I gotta hopefully be healthy. You know, all kinds of things all kinds of shit's good. I gotta do all kinds of shit. Then if I'm gonna be in California, I ain't paying attention to you motherfuckers.
So true. All right. Well, you can find me on the Sidebar, which will be coming up. We'll have a new episode coming out probably over the Halloween weekend, and we'll also have one more spooky season episode of Drive Time Movie Night with Cap and Mike, which is coming up on Wednesday on X and Rumble as per usual. But we will see you next time.
You're discouraged from questioning and thinking critically. You must accept the word of the leaders. They make you feel guilty if you do question or argue. Your environment is often controlled, cutting you off from friends, family, school, previously held beliefs. They want you to become dependent, provide a poor diet, poor health care, little sleep, and long, exhausting hours of work to make you physically weak and lower your ability to think clearly. Subtly, your self-confidence gets undermined, and your self-image or sense of identity is changed. The leaders control channels of communication. They cut off or put down outside sources of information. Then they bombard you with what they want you to think. They use strong peer pressure, playing on your desire to be loved and accepted. The leaders may promise rewards if you obey them, and punishment if you don't. But they alternate harshness and leniency in order to confuse you. The leaders manipulate language, giving special meanings to words that only insiders understand. This is to make you feel like you're part of a special, important, or elite group, and that outsiders are inferior, dangerous, or doomed. You have to confess your shortcomings, mistakes, or misbehavior, sometimes even if these things never really happened. And meanwhile, your time and activities are tightly controlled. You don't have much privacy or energy or time to think because you're too busy doing monotonous, repetitive tasks. The leaders try to control you and even your sexuality, everything about you. They want to exploit you for their own enrichment, their own power or grandiosity. If they succeed, you will declare your loyalty to its leaders, rejecting your old values and way of life. Without realizing it, you will have been changed into a person who is being controlled by a totalist cult.